Before we get into talking about today's games, a word. We support the Black Lives Matter movement. We, as gamers and as humans, need to stand up against racism, inequality, and injustice. We must hold our community accountable and hold our friends accountable and hold ourselves accountable.
I agree, Labosco. I think it's important for everyone to, in these trying times, stay united and keep talking about this subject. Don't let it go silent. And I think everyone as well, I hope everyone is staying safe out there.
Thank you for listening. We'll be right back. It is the final day of Overwatch Contenders China playoffs. Labosco here alongside Kenobi, getting ready to bring you our first game of the night. It is going to be Team CC versus Light Gaming. Team CC, considered the favorites in this tournament, find themselves in the losers semifinals, trying to make their way back to the grand finals, where the team that beat them, Flag Gaming, is awaiting the victors of Bilibilli and whoever wins the game we have here. Kenobi, it's a great night of casts that we're going to have for you. Of course, our game first, Team CC trying to go on a revenge tour.
And Team CC right now, Lavasco, you hit the nail on the head when we came into this. They are the best team in Chinese contenders, but find themselves in the loser bracket. And for those of you who may not know exactly, how Chinese contenders has worked out, hasn't followed, Team CC is basically akin to the San Francisco Shock right now, where they were the best team going into the playoffs. They ended up getting knocked out by a team no one really thought they could beat them in Flag Gaming, and now they're trying to make that losers bracket run exactly like the San Francisco Shock did in OWL Season 2. Team CC, in the format that we have, they won 3 out of the 4 weeks of Chinese contenders, almost doubling the points of the next person in line, who in second, which was Bilibilli Gaming. So Team CC, they have a lot to prove today, Labosco, specifically in this game against Light Gaming.
And one of the things that's different about Team CC into this part of the playoffs is they have brought a new member onto the team, a team member who was on actually their team underneath. Team CC actually has a team that is called CC Trainee. And the player that they've brought on is Spectrum. One of the problems that they've had, Kenobi, is playing Echo, and Spectrum, that is something that he does.
Yeah, I think Spectra is going to be a great addition to this team. He does come from Australian Contenders. He was on a team called Paradigm Shift, and I was watching some VODs of him earlier today, and he does play as really good Echo. And one of the things I've been most impressed with Labasco in Spectra's play is specifically how he plays the duplicates he goes off of. His Sigma looks very good in a lot of those times, and as we've seen recently throughout this bracket, Labasco in the past 4 days, Gravitic Flux into Gravitic Flux seems to be a pretty decent combo. Who would have thought? And I think that's really what I'm looking out for today. Spectra specifically, is he going to be able to fill the gap that Team CC has in a lack of an Echo player?
It's something that needs to happen from Spectra for sure. But Innovation is a player we still expect to see get some play time here throughout. A very good DPS in his own right. Of course, paired with the one and only Dia. Dia should be a name familiar for those of you who are Overwatch League fans. If you're a fan of the Shanghai Dragons, specifically because he's a player who was part of that infamous team, has been working his way back, Kenobi, and is widely considered the best DPS in all of Overwatch Contenders China.
I don't even think it's a question at this point, Labasco. He is the best DPS, and we can maybe put him in that conversation of one of the best DPS in contenders in the world in general. So he is also someone. If the Echo is going to be filled by Spectra, that means you can put Dia on these other roles. You can put him on his McCree, on his Tracer, on his Widowmaker, on his Ash, these hit scan roles that Dia excels in and can carry from for his team. We've talked a little bit about Team CC. We do have another team in this. They are Light Gaming, and they've been very shaky going through this entirety of the season. They've had a lot of turmoil with their roster, and they've made it all the way here to the losers round 3. They're in the top 4, and that says something for a team that has really gone through basically a roller coaster throughout the entirety of the regular season and even in playoffs.
Turmoil's been a word that we've used for this team because their roster has sort of been a revolving door a little bit, but some of these players have been around a little bit for Light Gaming. And this is a team that against Team CC didn't make it easy for them in week 2. They were able to win. They weren't able to win, but they were able to win map off of Team CC. They were able to win a control map and actually make a draw. Lijiang Tower is where we're going to go to first, Kenobi, and we can see here Team CC, they are starting Spectra, so we expect to see him on that Echo.
The poke composition coming out from Team CC, it has been their weakest composition, and you already see Spectra on that Echo. Look out for him to be one of the key players in this matchup. Echo has always been a problem for Team CC, and now we get to see how Spectra slots into this matchup. On the other side, mirror compositions for Light Gaming, what you're going to be looking out for, as well as the Echo players. Look out for those Immortality Field and the usage that they have.
Good use of the coach gun by Dia to make sure he doesn't get pulled in by the halt. Nice dynamite through the window, and it gets a ton of value. And Team CC out the gate, Kenobi, looking like what we expect them to look like, dominant.
This is the Team CC that we know and love coming out. Dia is the one who starts everything off, and it is Team CQC who takes control of this first point. I mean, you can already see just how much better Spectra is making this team. He's at 62% to his Echo Ultimate. Kaylee hasn't really been able to get the same amount of value, so Spectra already, his integration into this team showing a ton of dividends.
And you're seeing too, Dia has been putting a lot of pressure on Kaylee, of course, along with Spectra too. And now Wan Li trying to get back in for Light Gaming, but Team CC still well in control. They lose Spectra, though, a little too aggressive. Immortality Field a little late. They've now got to try and deal with the amplification matrix coming out from Light, and Light starting to turn this Bob. Not enough. Light Gaming will be able to take this point if they can kill these last few members that are left alive. The fight was so far away from the point, Kenobi, that Team CC can still stall this out. Wan Li will throw the Bob on, and now we'll have the Accretion Rock. It's still looking good for Light, but there at the end, they lose Wan Li and Sentry.
Dia is going to get some free pot shots right now, and somehow, some way, Labasco, Team CC has brought this back from the brink. An insane Bob from Dia in the start of that last fight. You mentioned that Light Gaming was all the way on a different part of the map. That is because Dia's Bob created so much space and let Team CC regroup on that point, and Light Gaming was not able to take the advantage that they had to win it. So now, with with 80% left Labasco, Light Game is going to get maybe one more shot at this. Duplicate online for Kaylee, as well as Gravitic Flux. We know that double Gravitic Flux is a potent combo. We'll see if that's what we see.
You're about to get another Bob, too, for Dia, who's quickly building back up to that. Kaylee has decided to duplicate on the Orisa, so Light Gaming having that extra tank to try and get to the point. It's 99%. They've got to get the touch. Kaylee barely does, but dies as a result. Too much to handle for Light Gaming. Team CC well in control. Dia will lose his life, but his team is going to win the battle on the point and take this map, this part 1 of map number 1, to have a 1-0 lead.
Spectra is an instant upgrade, Labasco, from Innovation. It's not even close. How much better that Spectra was playing there. You saw even in the Echo 1v1 that we just saw at the end of that map, Spectra is able to duel with Kaylee and force him onto an Orisa just for a position where he wants to stall and stay alive. He's not going to things like the Sigma where he can get a ton of value. It's just a desperate duplicate. So already what we've seen from Spectra in the ability to beat and put pressure onto the other Echo is miles and miles ahead of what we've seen from Team CC going back to week 4 in the rest of these playoffs. This Echo already making a huge difference.
We didn't even get to see his point of view a whole lot either, but you could still feel the value just by the additional damage coming through from Spectra. And really, Spectra only died one time, getting a little over aggressive. And maybe that's something that you just chalk up to some jitters, Kenobi, because this is a 15-year-old player in a huge game in a semifinals in Contenders playoffs. Like, sure, this is a player who was playing in Contenders in Australia, but you're talking about a region that has had some of the best talent come out of it. Your DMs, your Ersters, Michelle, Marvell, those are names that are all from Lucky Future Zenith, a team that used to dominate this region that has so many Overwatch League caliber talented players. We are in a pause here too, Kenobi, but Team CC, like you said, this is the start we want to see from them.
And the other thing that really makes Echo and Spectra integral to this composition, from what I've seen just in that one control map, is Dia's ability to play the Ashe, because previously they had to play things like McCree May, and Echo just offers too much right now to be left alone. So the fact that Dia is now able to play those hit scan roles where he can carry, he's given space because they have an Echo that can deal the other Echo and battle it out. I think that really makes Team CC much, much better than we've seen in the previous days. And Spectre, you're mentioning it, a 15-year-old kid. It takes a lot of guts for the team to throw in, not really throw in, but put in this kid who is 15 years old, coming from a new team completely into a situation where it's a very quick turnaround to put him in the roster, and he's doing good so far. It's just control. It's just one round map, but from what we've seen so far and previously in the bracket, previously in week 4, I think it's already paying dividends for Team CC.
He's at least been in the system for Team CC, though, a couple weeks that he's been with Team CC's academy team, I guess you could call it, Kenobi, with their trainee team, and actually has participated in some really good games for the trainee team. There's a tournament that's put on by Bilibilli that he was in that actually played against some of these contender teams. It was called Shadow Challenge. As we get to come back into map here, they played Flag Gaming, who's the team waiting in the grand finals, and the trainee team tied with them, Kenobi.
And I think as well for Team CC, as we look into this next map, when I look at Light Gaming specifically and what they're going to be running out here, I'm not sure if this is going to be the composition that they roll out with, but I'm very worried about them running dive, because their dive has been shaky at best, Labasco. The coordination and the target selection hasn't really been there. The map does offer a lot of avenues to play this dive, but really what you're going to be looking out for is Arong on that Ana. Perori and VK like to play very aggressively so that they can lose as much health to make sure Arong farms up that nano boost very quickly, but it's on a knife's edge and it's possibly able to be punished.
And Gardens is a map where you can do that. We get to see Spectra here a little bit, putting some good damage out, and Perori dying first is a bad sign for Light Gaming, already having to go back to spawn, and it's going to be a very quick take for Team CC. And Dia, it doesn't matter that what's going on anywhere else right now, throws out the dynamite to get it. That's just the perfect start for CC.
And that's kind of a little bit what I was talking about, Lavasco, on the razor's edge, and Prori gets a little bit too over aggressive. Luckily, Arong is able to farm up close towards that nano boost, which he will throw onto Perori, so Perori can get into the backline and cause some chaos and do some damage.
Kaylee had a very good performance the other day on Sombra. Needs to be similar if they want this dive to work. Of course, they need their front line surviving more than a few seconds. Here comes the nano boost, expertly pushed away, though. Perori will have to focus on the front line of Team CC, and that's not who you're trying to dive onto if you are Light Gaming, and it's not working for Light. They are being controlled by Team CC.
A fantastic whip shot from Super Rich negates completely what the Nano was meant to do. And we see Wanli gets annihilated by Spectra. Really well played peel coming out from Team CC, again, to negate everything the Nano was going for. Luckily for Light Gaming, though, they are going to have that EMP, but Kaylee goes down, so they're not going to have it for quite some time, Labosco. And that means that with 63%, this is going to be more percentage ticking up for Team CC. And Light Gaming is going to have to make a decision here. Do they want to throw all their ultimates in this next fight? Because it is possibly going to be last fight. But Team CC, look at them. 6-pack of ultimates. It's going to be very difficult here unless Kaylee gets a huge EMP for Light Gaming to win.
Have to find those supports too. Looking right now just on the point, waiting for the opportunity to use it, waiting for everybody to move into position for Light Gaming. Kaylee now waiting for that perfect opportunity. Decloaks, but doesn't get anything. Sia misses with the ultimate, with the Gravitic Flux, and Spectre in the meantime, though, has duplicated the Winston, is just causing havoc on the back line of Light Gaming, but on the front line, you're starting to see Light Gaming at least make a little bit of headway thanks to Perori's ultimate, and Wan Li with a little bit of help there as well. They do manage to get the flip, but it's 99% for Team CC, but they've won this for Light, so that's at least a start.
Looks like it, Labosco. There is a DMEC onto VK, and Team CC is sticking around Labosco. I'm not sure that this fight is over.
They're not letting it end here. They've got respawners coming back in and just repositioning themselves too. Dia with a double kill. Rhea with the third. Dia doing so well.
Dia makes it happen on this Ashe, and now Desperation swaps from Light Gaming to try and get back onto this point. I don't know if they're going to be able to, Labosco. There is someone who is able to get the touch, but that D.Va is going to get DMEC'd very quickly.
At least get the touch here, but Team CC well in control. Nothing that Light Gaming can do except bring back stragglers one at a time and hope for some picks, but the picks are only coming for the team in control, and that's Team CC, as they will take this map number 1 in dominant fashion, looking like they want to make a run back at Flag Gaming.
And the interesting thing, Labosco, that we didn't mention at the start of the show was that Team CC, their win rate on control is actually not the greatest. It is 69%, which for any other team is pretty good. But for what we know from Team CC, the rest of their map percentages are above that 80%. So a pretty big delta from those two win percentages. And now when we look at Team CC in this control map, they didn't lose the grip that much at all. I don't know if Light Gaming won a single fight that entire control map. This is very, very dominant already for Team CC.
They won like half a fight, right? Like they never
Yeah.
fully won a fight. They'd get an advantage, and then like it felt like they could never push it all the way for Light Gaming. So it's definitely something that could spell disastrous for Light if this is the way that it's going to turn out. And like you said, this is the weakest map type for Team C. This is where Light beat them in week 2, and Light Gaming struggled to even have a foothold on the point.
Yeah, I mean, the dive composition didn't really work out as well as they wanted to for Light Gaming, and I was questioning it going in. It said it's a little bit on the weak side, but it was really well played from Team CC. They know how to play around that composition, like you mentioned, or like you saw rather, when the Perori was going in with that nano boost, a perfect whip shot to deal with it. When Kaylee is trying to find a way to get that EMP off and decloaks, a headshot from Dia forces him to translocate out, as we're going to see some highlights here from these games.
Yeah, looking at it, Dio is one of the players, of course. We already talked him up in the pregame, Kenobi, but continued to shine, especially now that we get to see him really focus on what he's best at, which is hit scan DPS.
I mean, you're seeing all of these highlights. They're all just Dia highlights, and Dia, it's slightly unfair sometimes, I feel, that Dia is in Chinese Contenders because he's just that good where I think he's definitely throughout these entire seasons so far, if I watch his playback, he's earned a spot back in OWL. I think he is that level caliber of player on that hit scan role, and I can't wait to see what he does in the next couple of maps. I can't wait to see what they might do if they beat Light Gaming and go to play against Bilibilli Gaming, because that is also going to be an insane matchup. So for Light Gaming, it's now when we go to this next map, it's about stopping the bleeding because that wasn't close, and you have to make something happen here, or else the wheels are going to completely fall off this train.
Well, are they going to get a tourniquet for Light Gaming, or is it going to just continue and Team CC is going to dominate their way to a revenge match with Bilibilli? We'll find out here in just a moment. We'll be right back. Back to Overwatch Contenders China's playoffs. We get to be here on the Overwatch League main page too. Labasco here alongside Kenobi. Team CC with a 1-0 lead here in the losers semifinals. And Kenobi, they looked dominant in map number 1.
Very dominant, and I think it's important for Team CC when we look at this matchup to be dominant. When we've been looking at them throughout the playoffs, that's really what we've been looking for since they are considered to be the best team in Chinese Contenders. They really should have stumped through this bracket, but they had that mixed up against Flag Gaming, and now in the lower bracket, I want to continue to see from them these dominant performances like we saw on Control there. And as we go to Hanamura, I expect nothing to change with their composition. I believe Innovation is going to be starting in this match specifically. And for Team CC, bringing him in after what Spectra did on that Echo roll.
Have the Ash. I mean, Poke and Anti-Dive have a lot in common with each other, Kenobi, but the principles are kind of the same, right?
Yeah, I would still consider this more to be a Poke composition rather than something like Anti-Dive. Anti-Dive, you really want McCree instead of the Ash because McCree is able to stun the people and not just coach gun away from them. So I think this is more sticking towards that Poke style. And on offense, we see again from Light Gaming, they're going to be running Dive. Again, I'm slightly worried when I see this dive coming out from them. We didn't work out well in that last Control round. And here again, you're going to be looking out for A-Rong to farm up that nano boost. But as we've seen from Team CC so far, they're very adept at dealing with it on that first entry.
Yeah, they really didn't have to too much to worry about for the EMP, and they really took care of the Echo in incredible fashion. Dia already getting players extremely low, and Sentry is the first one to fall for Light Gaming. So Team CC, they see players split off, they chase after Kaylee to force the recall away, and now you just have alone behind enemy lines Wan Li.
I mean, Light Gaming just left their supports out to dry. Gaga says, okay, your supports are right here in this front chokehold. I'm just going to halt them into myself and kill them. The dive does not end up working out at all for Light Gaming, and you see all of their ultimate charges sub 40%, which is almost disastrous for a composition like this, especially with only a minute in. At this point, you'd at least want to have that nano boost. So this is more time wasted off the clock for Light Gaming. That sticky bomb from Wan Li is one he is not going to put in the highlight reel.
And you see every time Wan Li tries to get aggressive onto the supports of Team CC, there's plenty of peel there to stop Wan Li from getting too aggressive or too close. So this poke is working from Dia, keeping them at bay. Wan Li can't even approach, tries with the dynamite for Dia, but now you have the rotation at least coming around for Light Gaming, so they're kind of all by each other, and now they can try and do their dive. Perori coming in so low, though, and then the dynamite over the bubble to get the kill from Dia. Team CC, again, dismantling what Light Gaming is trying to do.
And this has been 2 minutes, Labasco, where Light Gaming hasn't really made anything happen. Dia's going to clean up this fight, and Light Gaming is looking in shambles right now. Instead of rotating these ultimates like you're supposed to be doing in a comp like this, it seems like they're just trying to amass as many as possible and then go in the last second. But at the same time, you're letting CC do the same. Wan Li going down is going to be more time milked off the clock. This is just not ideal at all for what Light Gaming is trying to do.
They're starting to get some of those ultimates that you need to make the dive work, Kenobi. But like you said, a minute and a half on the clock. All they have to even try and open up this first point, and for all the ultimates they have, Team CC with a bevy of their own. Kaylee finally getting up to the EMP. D-Cloak's looking for that opportunity to use it, trying to get the hack on.
Oh no, that's no.
Rory, disastrous for Light Gaming. They don't know what to do now. They've already lost Perori too, and Kaylee can only recall back. And now Dia can just shoot from the high ground casually. Sure, they give up 33%, Kenobi, but they've won this fight.
And they're actually EMPing and committing to this with the bomb as well. Sia is going to go down. This fight is not over yet, Labasco.
They are keeping everything in, but out will come the Blizzard, catching multiple targets, and Team CC rallies with their ults.
And Light Gaming used everything in that fight, Labasco. The only thing they're going to have left is that Primal Rage from Perori, which is going to be used and committed right now. Actually, this is insanity.
Going on to Innovation, gets frozen up by the Mei instead, and Team CC is back to full strength. Supercharger down, keeping Light Gaming at bay. Wan Li just goes in for a touch and dies. Team CC not losing control for even a moment.
This map is just over, Labasco. This round is over. This attack is over from Light Gaming. They can't do anything. They have no ultimates to work with whatsoever. There's a Gravitic Flux from Sia that can basically end this fight as soon as the dive comes in. This is all Team CC's to lose.
Dia just threw the bomb down the hallway just to make sure nobody was going to go there. It wasn't even needed for them to win this fight. Light Gaming couldn't even get on to contest for overtime. And it's going to be a 49.9% that Team CC needs in order to make this a 2-0 lead.
This is very rough, Labasco. Very, very rough for Light Gaming currently. I mean, like I talked about, the way that this composition is supposed to work that Light Gaming is playing is you're supposed to rotate your ultimates and then snowball that way, right? You get Nano first, you put that onto your Winston, you get Primal, you farm up EMP, and you win fights like that. Light Gaming just decided instead to completely amass their ultimates, and then when they did that, they were just using them in weird situations where you could have reset, you could have not used that Primal Rage from Perori, you could have gone back, reset, tried to make a better push, but it seemed like for that last minute and a half, Light Gaming was just scrambling every which way and couldn't gain any foothold. And now a very easy win condition for Team CC to get here. Light Gaming going to be switching off of their dive onto more of a poke-oriented composition here at Labasco, but it's still a very tall mountain to climb for Light Gaming on this defense.
Disjointed was a word we had used before for Team CC with some of the way that they played. Even though they had some dominant wins in playoffs, They still looked disjointed, but they were mechanically just superior to other teams. This feels like a combination of the two.
It feels like right now Team CC is the better team, and as forehead as that sounds, it's really just that simple. They're playing so much better. Light Gaming is giving them so many avenues to just put their pressure on them, and now with this composition from Team CC, they're going to just go on to point very quickly. 1987 going down is going to stop this a little bit, so they're going to have to wait quite a while for that Baptiste to come back, but they're going to use this teleporter, get directly onto the point, and set up their defense there instead of going and rushing through that choke point.
Looks like they might be changing it, Kenobi. Have Gaga going over to the Orisa now, and Dia does go over to the Ashe. So they've decided against it.
The experiment failed. Your Baptiste died. They said, okay, they know where we're running now. There is no surprise factor anymore. But there's some nice shots from Dia, and Kaylee's going to go down. That's not good for Light Gaming.
You don't need any surprises when Dia can do that with relative ease. Just gets headshot after headshot, and then the body shot to finish it off, and then another headshot onto Wan Lee. Team CC will stroll onto the point, and they will stroll to a 2-0 lead. There's nothing Light Gaming can do. They can't even get out of the room to get onto the point because Team CC has been too dominant in this series, already up 2-0.
Team CC says we don't need cheese. We can just beat you in a standard poke composition. We don't need any Symmetra tricks. We don't need any teleport tricks. We can just beat you straight in the 1v1, and you saw it there from Dia specifically. He takes out Kaylee very early, and then he takes out Wan Lee, and after that, there's no more damage left for Light Gaming to sustain on that point. So very easily handled from Team CC. I'm worried about the next game, Labasco, because that was very convincing.
It was convincing, I think, is putting it lightly.
That was a stomp. It was just
right.
A stomp. It was a stomp.
This is the Team CC that has the potential to be champions at the end. Of course, they're going to have to try and beat Bilibilli next to even have the chance to face Flag Gaming. And of course, they have to win the map here. But just looking at the form that they're in, they are in rare form, I think you can say.
This is championship winning form, and that's kind of what you need in a bracket situation like this, to have to go through one team, then another team, then another team. If you make it to the grand finals, this is how you need to be playing. And they're playing at the level that we saw them win those first 3 weeks of Contenders with. And I'm very scared right now if I'm Light Gaming going into that last map, because the first two have been absolute nightmares for them.
They really have. We're going to take ourselves a timeout, and when we come back, we'll see if Team CC can continue their dominance in map number 3. It's a 2-0 lead for Team CC here in the losers semifinals. Labasco alongside Kenobi for Overwatch Contenders China playoffs, and Kenobi dominance returning for Team CC. Eichenwald is where they can make this match end and end the season for Light Gaming.
And as we talk about Team CC going into Eichenwald, Spectra is back in the lineup for innovation here in Labasco, and that just tells me it's going to be echo time for Team CC. Definitely on this map specifically, you do have a lot of opportunities to play with that infinite skybox on echo, so I like it more than innovation playing something like the May here. And for Light Gaming, I wonder what they're going to do, because their dive that they've played in the past 2 maps has not looked clean at all. They've had some poke as well, but nothing seems to have really gotten a foothold for Light Gaming. And if what they're bringing out right now is correct, I don't think Wanli would be playing that Pharah. It's going to be a Widowmaker instead, probably just going to grapple up and try and get a quick shot. Let's see what he can do. Doesn't get it. He's probably going to go back and switch. And now poke composition going to be mirroring out here for Light Gaming. From Team CC side, though, we're going to be looking at Spectra, and we're going to be looking at Kaylee, the duel of the echoes in the air. The Clone Wars, I believe it's been coined as the term.
That's a good term. I'm definitely a fan. I know you're a fan of that.
I'm a big fan of the Clone Wars. in case anyone didn't know already.
Right. If you've never looked at Kenobi's Twitter, then you wouldn't know. But if you have, then you definitely know. Spectra and Dia getting the kills at the beginning. The defense holding strong for Team CC at the start. 2 of the most important members down, and then Spectra casually gets the headshot onto Wanli coming in. And now just chasing Perori down, already to half health, halting back in. There's no chance for escape for Light Gaming.
You know what else I know, Labasco? I know that Spectra is having a phenomenal game so far on this Echo, putting so much pressure on Kaylee, on that opposite Echo, and at the same time, his focusing beam targets are perfect. His sticky bombs always hitting their mark. He's really been a key player throughout. And if you look at Dia as well, Dia is 50% ahead of Wanli in ultimate charge. That is a nuts ratio.
Kaylee pulling a little bit ahead now of Spectra, but Spectra coming right back in as far as that is concerned. But in the meantime, Dia just dealing out the damage, taking out the immortality field, throwing Bob in. Kaylee doesn't get any value out of the duplicate form, and now Spectra using the Sigma on their duplication, doing damage in that front line. Won't get the ultimate, but still keeping at bay Light Gaming, and they're down to 2 minutes left on this attack.
Team CC, they are going to have that Gravitic Flex and Supercharger. Perori not that close to his just yet. That means CC is going to have an advantage when this push inevitably comes from Light Gaming, but they only have 2 minutes left. There's a nice Flux.
Gravitic Flux will hit multiple members of Team CC. Immortality field is down, well protected by the barrier, so everybody's able to get healed back up. And now Dia can go to work, already eliminating Kaylee from the sky, and now has Bob again. One fight after another, Dia builds to Bob.
And Kaylee just hasn't been able to play the game at all, Labasco. Dia just has him in his sights. There's a Supercharger and a Bob just to secure this fight, Labasco. This is complete and utter annihilation from Team CC right here. Their foot is on the gas. They are not letting go whatsoever. 1 minute left for Light Gaming. A swap over to the Zenyatta to offer more damage potential and shield break, but it might be a little bit too late, Labasco. He's not going to get his Transcendence in time.
It's coming down to the wire for Light Gaming. It's going to be a tall task to keep your playoff hopes alive if you can't at least open the point against Team CC. Spectra's still in the air with that dominance over Kaylee, about to get to another duplicate too for this, what probably will end up being the final fight. That's a nice use of the barrier to stay alive from Sia. The Bob getting no value because they can quickly focus it down for Team CC, and Light Gaming getting dismantled again.
30 seconds left only for Light Gaming, and more people are going down to Spectra's focusing beam. Everyone on Light Gaming will perish, and Team CC is looking poised, Labasco, to take this series. Light Gaming gets maybe one more shot at this. They have to get someone to the point quickly, but they only have 10 seconds left.
Wanli making a quick swap two over to the McCree. Who's going to be able to get the touch? Kay Lee's the one who's going to try and do it. Has to get to the point. Uses the duplicate
Can they
to
get
try
there?
and get there. Trying to step on, just does in time. Keeps this going for Light Gaming, but obliterated by Spectra in the sky, who switches to the duplicate themselves. Nobody else able to get there. Light Gaming not even able to get 33% on the point. Team CC poised to move on to the losers finals. Just have to win this out.
This is some brutal, savage, wrecked stuff we're seeing right here, Labasco. Shout out to Red Eye. But this is a dismantling that we're seeing right now. Light Gaming does not look like they can hang at all with Team CC. Team CG is just on another level mechanically, on another level with their coordination. Dia is taking down Kaylee and Wan Lee most of the time at the same time. He is 1v2ing the enemy DPS at the current moment. This is just Team CC at the level we expected to see them going into these playoffs, Labasco. This is the Team CC, the prince that was promised. Everything we thought Team CC could be, we are seeing in this matchup. And if I'm Billy, looking at this, I'm very scared. I am very, very scared because how do we beat this? How do you beat someone who is on this type of level?
This is a level that we've expected to see from them with the dominance they had in the first 3 weeks of the season. The one composition that they had trouble on was this poke, and Spectra has been a shot in the arm, Kenobi, for this Team CC. They go back to this composition that it looks like they are the masters of compared to what we saw just the days prior.
It's amazing what one player can do for your team, and Spectre really letting Dia get onto these hit scan rolls, having a very good Echo himself has just made Team CC another beast. This is another evolution for them that we haven't seen from TCC prior. Arong is down. That's all of the healing from Light Gaming gone. Team CC will walk their way onto this point.
Team CC sees destiny in front of them. Just have to get 33% on that point, and they get a chance at revenge against Bilibilli Gaming, keeping their playoff hopes alive.
It's
Knights
over.
halt in, one lead down. Nobody for Light Gaming can get to the point, and Team CC advances on to the losers finals. For Light Gaming, it's unfortunate, but their run ends here. But Kenobi, it's not so bad if your run ends into a team that probably ends up being the best.
Team CC is looking right now, at least in this matchup, like the best team in Chinese contenders, like we thought they were. And now when they go up against Billy again, like I talked about, they're probably shaking in their boots. They didn't think that Team CC could play poke. Poke was our thing. Poke is what we beat Team CC on. And now Team CC seems to be the best team at poke. Out of nowhere, just with Spectre coming in on that Echo and Dia playing at the level we know him to be playing at, this team is poised to continue playing this well. And going into that next series with Billy, that's going to be a barn burner. That is a matchup that we thought we'd probably see in grand finals, but no, we're getting it in losers finals. You're getting it next. That is going to be an insane matchup, and I can't wait to see the poke wars coming out from both those teams.
Rich Rad and Nekra are going to be the ones who take you through that one as well. That's going to do it for us as far as the casts are concerned, Kenobi, for this season of Contenders China. But it's been a wild ride that we've had. And dominance is impressive to see. I think that's the one thing that's the coolest part about this game from Team CC is again, they look disjointed earlier in the playoffs on the same composition that they look so good on. We had questions about how 1987 was going to be on the Baptiste, and 1987's Baptiste, at least in this first game, looked great. Not that there was a whole lot for 1987 to do,
Not really.
but there's still certain timings that you have to be able to get the immortality field at the right time. And the tank line in Gaga and Sia, we didn't really highlight them much, but the halts were great from Gaga. The accretions were great from Sia too. Like, this is a team that is poised to move further on. But for Light Gaming, again, finishing fourth with the turmoil they had, I think that's an impressive thing.
Yeah, they did have a slightly easier run through the bracket, but getting to that top four is something you can always hang your hat on. So for Light Gaming, especially with all the troubles that they had with their roster moves, with their roster shuffling throughout the entirety of the regular season, it's a good mark for them to get all the way to this top four. You go out against arguably what is considered to be the best team in Chinese contenders.
It's a nice way to end, not the way they wanted it to end, but for Team CC, the road continues on. That's what's next. Billy versus Team CC, a rematch of the Week 4 finals. Rich Rada and Nekra again taking you through that. For us, though, any final thoughts, Kenobi?
Keep watching Chinese Contenders. Support tier 2, obviously. Wherever
Mhm.
you are, whoever you are, keep supporting tier 2 and keep don't touch the browser also. Don't close the browser.
Right.
Keep it here. Don't go anywhere. There's
Keep
great games coming up. Trust me. This one was quick. The other ones will be bangers. Just trust.
Yes, those will be much better. And you're going to see great talent regardless. So stick around for that. But for this season, we say thank you so much for Kenobi and myself. We'll see you next season, though. We're not done yet, but we're at least done with this one. See you later.
Welcome back, everybody, as we've already had some stellar Overwatch play for pretty much a majority of the day, and we're going to keep it rolling as we now bring you Team CC moving through this losers bracket to face off against Bilibilli Gaming in the losers finals. I am your caster, Rich Red, here with Necra, taking a change up in duos, and we're going to be bringing you the action live. Necra, we have quite a match between these two right now in this losers final.
We do indeed. Labasco and Kenobi got a chance to tease that for you a little bit, but this is a rematch of the Week 4 Chinese Contenders championship game, and it's going to be such a good one. Last time we saw these two teams battle it out together, it went to a 5-map series, but that was also the first time that we got a chance to see Team CC a little bit outside of their element now that no hero pools had been implemented. So looking at the two teams going head to head today, I'm really excited to see how Spectra is going to play a role against Bilibilli Gaming, who we saw got dropped down into the losers bracket yesterday.
Absolutely. And I mean, to build a little bit further on, seeing these two teams before, again, for those that might not be as, knowledgeable about this Chinese region, with this fifth map, you saw originally Team CC losing or the first two maps. And then all of a sudden, after those first two maps, Team CC was able to rally, come back, bring it to a fifth map, and it was a absolute chaos fest between the two of them on that fifth map. So there is a lot of history, specifically more so in that week 4, and it's going to just elevate this moment right now, because at this point it was really a story that I think even us as casters did not anticipate. This is the top first and second seed going head to head in this losers bracket.
Yeah, this is definitely not what we expected to see ourselves at, but we're going to be going into Lijiang Tower first. And as a control map, the first map type in this set between Bilibilli Gaming and Team CC, I got to touch on the fact that this is usually a strong point for Bilibilli Gaming. They have a 100% win rate on Lijiang Tower specifically, and Team CC, well, they've lost this map before, so this is going to be an interesting battle between them, especially because we have pointed out the new strength to Team CC's roster in Spectra, playing the Echo for the team, but Bilibilli Gaming still has a well-contested win rate on control maps as a whole.
Absolutely, and we're going to see a little bit of an adaptation here from Bilibilli. Not going to have Winter sticking on the Echo, which we've seen, along with Don't Say picking up this Reaper, which is a little bit more unique than what we've typically seen in their composition. Dia still pumping out a lot of damage, though, from Team CC onto that backline, looking to focus down the supports, but not finding too much prevail. With Dia still playing this side position, though, Spectra gets an early pick onto Winter, which is going to lead CC onto this point and start dominating to obtain some early percentage.
Something that I think is really heads up from Bilibilli Gaming is the hero choices that they selected for this map specifically. Recognizing that we might see Team CC playing a little bit more disjointed rather than playing around the Immortality field coming out from 1987, Bilibilli Gaming smartly at the beginning decided to go for heroes that would be able to get quick picks. Unfortunately for them, Team CC is one step ahead of Bilibilli Gaming, so we're actually seeing Bilibilli do almost a complete roster switch over here, with Don't Say going over to the McCree, Winter going over to the Mei, Illusion on the Break, and Sleep on the Baptiste.
And Bilibilli is picking something that they do have comfort in. Don't Say has been doing a stellar job on this hit scan roll, changing it for the crowd control. Nice wall comes out by Winter early up front, but there's no follow-up onto Gaga. Gets a rotation back, but Sleep manages to actually, in the midst of it all, get one, but Dia on that back high ground, sitting under that lantern, manages to get the double and resets Bilibilli.
We're seeing this a couple of times from Sleep, and I think this is what we really need to look out for, is Sleep using those Immortality fields just a little bit too early. Team CC has been doing a great job of forcing out the Immortality fields from at least that first team fight. We'll see if Sleep continues to use that Immortality field just a little bit too early, because it leaves them without sustain for the end fights.
And holding on to it for that extra duration can for sure allow you to withlast this type of use on the duplication from Spectra. The Zarya, a tank, going to have 3 in the front line of CC with a grab being generated and tossed out. There is the nice hesitation, though, from Sleep to withstand some of the damage, but there are some picks and repositions around the outside from Bilibilli Gaming that are just still not working out too well in the initial fight, but in the long run, because of that hesitation on the Sleep use of the Immortality field, that allows them to take it back.
They do take it back, and Bilibilli Gaming has a couple of tools to keep it from Team CC's hands. You do have Zijin's grab ready to go, and Team CC is going to be potentially walking into that ultimate.
Yeah, that ultimate, it can find a lot of value with how tight together this backline is. Does throw it out. Don't say tries to transition just to a decent sightline to get multiple members on Team CC, but the Immortality field is there, will withstand that ultimate, but the others are close in hand. Over drops the supercharger for the boosted damage, but Sleep gets picked out early in this consistent fight. And now with Spectra overhead raining down so much damage, this is going to be a switchover. It enters into the overtime with Bilibilli in a absolutely difficult position to try and even keep this, and can't do so with Team CC claiming this first map already on, or correction, the first round of Lijiang Tower.
This already looks very familiar, Rich Rad. We got a chance
Mhm.
to see how dominant Team CC performed versus Light Gaming, and honestly looks no different versus Bilibilli. I have some questions about the, sticking to the Zarya choice for as long as Zijin did, but I know that's a comfort pick for Zijin. But now Bilibilli Gaming is going to be going over to something that we expected to see from them, especially given their performance during yesterday's games, which is going to be that mirrored Pope composition.
Definitely, and I'm really curious to see how Spectra is going to fend off against Winter in this change-up from what we've seen with Innovation not being here. I know we've talked about it a lot from Spectra, and now we're going to see how Winter can work the Echo as well.
Interesting choice coming out from Don't Say. Don't Say, instead of using the Ash for the extra damage, is going to try their hand at this Tracer.
And the Tracer will get some nice flanking maneuvers onto the back line, but you have Super Rich with this Brig, who's going to have so much crowd control to manage and prevent Don't Say from getting value, especially onto 1987. This coach shot repositioning Dia a little bit further back to put out a lot of damage as Spectra gets one early, 6 versus 5, with a transition from CC onto the point and instantly going to take it with very little lost in this fight.
If you're Bilibilli Gaming, you don't want to get stuck in between two prongs of Team CC. Even though the amplification matrix is up, Team CC might have a good handle on this.
And the other part, too, is if you look at this battle between Winter and Spectra, Spectra's still winning it out and forcing Winter back, and the redirection and focus from Winter is all over the place. Now that you've got Team CC with the numbers advantage, gaining this percentage on the point, they're in a stellar position to start rotating these ultimates, especially with Dia getting bobbed.
Dia's going to have Bob for this next fight, and Spectre's going to have the duplicate as well. So taking a look at both of those DPS ultimates for Team CC, paired up with the supercharger from Gaga, there's going to be a lot of damage coming out from Team CC that Bilibilli Gaming just isn't prepared for. The rally from Illusion isn't ready yet, and they're not going to be able to use it early enough to sustain.
Absolutely, it won't generate nearly as much armor as we've seen occur before by multiple plays. With now this rotation into the White Room, Bilibilli also having Don't Say transition across the bridgeway. Playing a patient game to find the pulse bomb, doesn't land onto 1987, and that slight error could really cost this engagement up front. And you can see with the damage boost and Bob deleting multiple members from Bilibilli, Team CC is crushing once again on a control point, which typically known as a difficult structure and just map type for them.
Sleep's use of the immortality field is coming in once again, and it's been so difficult for Sleep to find the right opportunity to use that resource, because there's so many different things that Team CC has been throwing at Bilibilli Gaming that it has been a hard choice for Sleep to decide when to use the immortality field. But you can see now that the use of the gravitic flux from Spectra was a really big asset for Team CC, and now Sia is going to be able to do the same.
Absolutely, dropping down one. You've got Over with the Fortify to at least mitigate the fall damage, with Illusion using the rally to generate some armor over the course of this fight. Finally being reduced now with a massive amount of explosive damage on to Bilibilli's back line. Both supports are down. This is a nail in the coffin right now for Bilibilli. Zijin just attempting to survive for a matter of moments. It will not occur. Team CC cleaning up this point and will marvelously claim this first map of Lijiang Tower, and you can tell that they are warm from the map that they just finished the round earlier.
Oh yeah, they are. And I gotta call out one standout in particular for me, because we've gotten a chance to talk about the DPS on Team CC, but what about Super Rich, who's been playing the Brigida? One of the ways that Brigida is so valuable in this meta is because of the armor packs that she provides to her teammates. And especially if you're going to be putting them on a flanking DPS like your Echo, or your Ashe, it makes them very difficult to take down. So I think that Don't Say's choice of going on the Tracer was a kind of hard mode for that one.
Yeah, and I mean, with there being so much great sustain from that support line, not only onto the DPS to allow them to thrive on the front, but being really assisting to 1987. And you saw Don't Say trying to focus that play on the Baptiste, because if their immortality field is either forced out independently on the two supports, it leaves the front line vulnerable. Or if it's held on to and you sacrifice that Baptiste, you're down to a single support. So
Mhm.
there is so much attention with that Brigitte to play, having the crowd control, the armor pack, the just massive assistance to 1987 is critical for Team CC to sustain their back line.
It absolutely is. And I think that's something that Team CC has been doing a really great job of, is making sure that their backline is alive and stable in order to help and promote the frontline engagement once the shields for Bilibili Gaming go down.
And to build on at least the Bilibili side of it, I know that there was an attempt to have this tracer play, and I think maybe that you could see Don't Say sticking a little bit more towards that Ashe type of characteristic to really counter Dia. But another thing to really build upon is the fact that Spectra has been managing so well on this Echo. Dia can just focus on the hit scan, and it is just
Mhm.
no hesitation in thinking anything else but it, and is accelerating at it.
Yeah, it's something that we've seen in a couple of series in the past couple of weeks, is that Dia has been having to flex over to the Echo because of that uncomfortability that Innovation showed on
Mhm.
Echo. And that means that they're not really capable of just focusing on that hit scan role like you mentioned. They have to be able to play the hit scan and of course the Echo at a proficient rate, and it's really difficult to be able to do both.
And we'll see if this proficiency continues. Will CC be able to keep these pistons firing, or is Bilibili Gaming going to be able to slow the engine down? We'll find out as we come back after a short break, so don't go anywhere, friends. Hello and welcome back, friends. Told you the break wasn't that long, as we are now going to enter into the next map. Team CC, as I said, has claimed the first. And now we go into Temple of Anubis. And during the short little break, we were kind of talking a little bit, Necra, and discussing how, we didn't really see the normal, consistent picks coming out from Bilibili. And going into this next map, I think it's really going to help them to do this. They need to go to their strengths.
I agree with that. And I think that one of those strengths is actually going to be seeing Winter potentially play this Widowmaker, especially because we are a Temple of Anubis. This is where Winter gets a chance to shine. Yeah, you can kind of look at the screen and say, Bilibili Gaming, they have a 50% win rate on this map specifically, but when we have seen them win this map, it's been in a dominant fashion, and it's especially been in these last couple of weeks where Bilibili Gaming has played this pure poke composition with the Ashe and the Echo that we've seen Bilibili Gaming take convincing control.
And we'll see if on this attacking side they can have a convincing aggression against Team CC on this middle high ground, and already leading out with some early damage. I'm curious how Bilibili is going to mitigate all of that shots from Spectra.
Well, this heavily relies on whether or not you can help amp up the damage here, and there's a lot riding on both Sleep and 1987's shoulders to keep this line alive. And Don't Say! Oh my goodness.
Great way to lead into this. Coach Gun gonna now get that high ground position, forcing out the dynamite, also getting some extra ticking damage to generate that ultimate to try and keep in line with Dia, who now is marvelously ahead with that dynamite in the choke point, already at 80% near Bob, which will definitely cause some difficult positioning when Bilibilli completely commits to this point. Don't say gonna get picked off in the back from the sticky bombs, and now Team CC is a great position to continue forcing back the stragglers from Bilibilli, and really at this point is gonna allow the reset.
Gonna allow the reset here, but Bilibilli Gaming is coming back with the amplification matrix, and that's just kind of speaks volumes to how much damage Bilibilli Gaming was really taking. You can also see that as evidenced by Dia already having the Bob ready to go for Team CC. So what I expect in this next fight is you're gonna have to watch out for how Dia places that Bob and see what kind of cooldowns it forces out from Bilibilli Gaming before they move in.
And with the pressure forward from Bilibilli, the cooldowns are being used to get into this small position, and now the hesitation. They want to buy their time to make sure that all abilities are up, leading in with this amplification matrix. Sleep going to drop it, barely survives themselves as pushing through with a decent amount of damage. The rotation comes out from Team CC with the tank line, but Bob with Dia's position on the high ground will start to gain some value, but because of Bilibilli playing underneath this bridgeway, it's actually blocked a lot of sightlines for Dia, forcing the low ground position. And with 1987 working in tandem with Dia dropping to the low ground, it is still allowing a lot of survival for Team CC to compete against Bilibilli, who is still unable to prevail through that archway.
Remember when you take a look at the respawns as well, it matters so much that Bilibilli Gaming gets picks and they come back to the point just a little bit faster than what Team CC's reinforcements are capable of doing. So Bilibilli Gaming needs to take advantage of those openings that they're able to grab. Like Don't Say and Winter have been able to get crucial picks onto Team CC.
Ooh, and there was almost a pick from Dia, but the flux comes through by Bilibilli, used more so defensively than offensively to try and survive. Dia takes down Illusion, and now you've got a duplication from Winter, splitting again with that Sigma, but is unable to gain any value. Dia on this high ground is just obliterating anybody that comes near, and is so hard for Bilibilli to stay in these fights.
Ooh, especially because there's a Gravitic coming out from Sia too, just to secure and give a hard reset to Bilibilli Gaming.
Well, and you can see those side positions played. You had Sia off to the side, waiting for a chance, trying to play those off angles for the crossfire, and really gained value with it and expended that ultimate, but there's still two for Team CC.
Still two for Team CC that they can rotate through, but Bilibilli Gaming is starting to stack up their ultimates, and with this high ground positioning as well, this is forcing Team CC into the corner.
And there's a nice early double kill for Bilibilli Gaming, transitioning into the small cubby where that mini pack is. And Team CC has the rally, so there is a lot of survival from the ultimate, but this just is going to be far too much damage from Bilibilli to overrun that armor pack that was quickly generated. This will be a capture, and looking to transition with just over 3 minutes to point B.
3 minutes and a way to snowball this next point. Take a look at Sleep's ultimate charge. They are going to have the amplification matrix relatively quickly, especially if Over and Zijin allow themselves to take just a little bit of damage before they move in, and that's exactly what you see Zijin doing there, just so Sleep can work up to that amplification matrix. That's going to be a go signal for Bilibilli Gaming to move on to this point.
Absolutely, it is primed and ready, and this choke point is a great place to put it so you can focus all of your fire down that central location. If anyone from Team CC plays out in the open, it does begin. The Bob comes out as well from Don't Say. Another body on this point to try and compete, with Spectra duplicating the Sigma. Confident play on this tank duplication, which we've seen time and time again. The flux generated, the rise and fall. Is there enough to follow up after it, though, when already almost a second flux is generated, but leaves the duplication. The focus beam comes through, and this is now a slight rotation back from Team CC, now no longer having the duplicate because Sia can lead in with their flux as well.
Oh my goodness, this is a back and forth, and I actually don't think Winter should have invested the duplicate there. They didn't have a full team of 6, and they also weren't in prime position, already having taken so much damage, and if they were just watching what Team CC had been using for their ultimate choices, they would have recognized that Sia was ready with a Gravitic Flux to seal the deal on that last engagement too. So it would have been nice to see Bilibilli Gaming save that duplicate so that they might have been able to do a double Gravitic Flux on this next push.
And to build on that even further, and you made a comment about seeing the double flux. That is what Team C has done time and time again versus what we've seen from rounds prior in these playoffs, where it's a duplication of the Brigitte. And I'm really liking the fact that it's these double tanks that we're seeing more often from the Echo play, specifically from Team CC. Now with Zijin rotating from this side position, the shield does come out, but a counter supercharger from Team CC to boost their firing rate, and damage is going to be critical to use on this defensive position. Spectra again already having the duplicate to make a Sigma come out once again for a potential follow-up flux just in time before it vanishes. And that is the critical choice of a Sigma and how well it can be used by an Echo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Sigma just ends up being such a fantastic choice because of how quickly you farm up the ultimate when you are in the duplicate state. So, especially when you're taking a look at how prominently teams have fallen to the gravitic flux, especially if they don't have the immortality field active. Like, you take so much damage when you're up in the air because you're not really capable of having the sightlines that you want, and then you also take a lot of damage on the downfall. It's just a great way for a team to snowball momentum once they have gotten all of that damage onto the opposing team. But Bilibilli Gaming trying a different approach here as they make the side rotation through Dark Room.
And this side position will have to gain everything they need to keep this point contested. Already getting 1 point tick out of 3, but you've got Team CC with the rally, immortality field committed as well. Sia, just for funsies at this point, gonna throw out that gravitic flux to get the final members of Bilibilli Gaming picked off. But this is still a great push onto point B from Bilibilli, obtaining just over 43%.
43.7% is still quite a bit of capture progress on point B. We know on assault maps how notorious that second point B can for the attacking team. So I'm really interested to see how Bilibilli Gaming decides to play the defense, especially because we've seen them have dominant defenses before on Temple of Anubis, and especially when it comes down to that poke composition, the way that they play around the architecture of the map.
And especially when it comes to the second point, the architecture is just so chaotic. There are so many pillars, the smaller choke points, the side rooms. With this first point, at least, it's a little bit more open as long as you maintain that middle high ground, watching how you transition back. And then also that upper back position, which we saw Dia hold very masterfully with 1987, constantly utilizing that boost to jump back up and down when necessary to stick close to keep that front line and back line sustained.
Well, I think that's what's really exciting about the second point, especially for the defense, if you're going to be playing this poke composition, is that there's so many different avenues for you to flank and just make sure that you're setting up crossfires against the enemy team. And especially when you take a look at the poke composition as a whole, you might be looking at the Sigma and the Orisa, and at first glance you say, well, you should be playing together, right? Protect your Ashe, make sure the Ashe can do as much damage as they can. But in a lot of cases, you can see that Ashe go on flanks, as well as with this Sigma, to be able to set up that crossfire against the enemy.
And they can do so much together. Even just the Sigma itself being alone can really just cause a lot of complexity to the engagement. And with Team CC attacking first, the complexity comes out early. But with Bilibilli rotating back from this middle high ground, not keeping everyone up top, might give a chance for Team CC to press forward on this. Still some recontest, a lot actually separated here. Dia holding that back archway and pumping out damage onto the two tank lines before they drop down, with Gaga leading the charge, halting, pulling several from Bilibilli out in the open. And the fact that you've got Don't Say Now changing over to this Tracer is already in a negative light for Bilibilli's defense. A change up to get back into this fight that you've already lost 1-2. Amplification Matrix from Sleep, though, will come out early after how well that healing and sustain has been, outpacing 1987, who finally has their own. Bob is going to be held onto because that amplification matrix is going to be more than enough to clear all of Bilibilli out of that small room. And this is a 5-minute and 50-second time bank for Team CC.
That is so much time, and now Bilibilli Gaming has a behemoth of a task ahead of them to keep Team CC at bay from reaching that checkpoint. But Bob already to lead the charge.
Yep, leading the charge, and the rush comes through behind, especially with Spectra on the high ground with this Sigma play. Gets the flux and goes for the back line. Both Sleep and Don't Say eliminated, and this point now is the action location with Dia forcing so many back into the corner. Spectra losing the duplicate, doesn't get the double flux, which is fine. There's still a lot of presence on this point. Bilibilli using the Sigma play of their own on Winter to try and take a chapter out of Team CC's book from Spectra. An even exchange back and forth here, but the respawn advantages are still in favor of Bilibilli. And with Spectra continuing to hold position on this point, I am surprised that Bilibilli has been withstanding as long as they are, but they are going to keep fighting.
They are going to keep fighting. They're trying to get back with as many reinforcements as possible, but are the shields going to be enough with the simplification matrix on the field?
Not enough for Over, and nor will it be for Zijin. 1987 and Gaga cleaning up. Already one tick obtained. 4 minutes and 34 seconds. That victory lies so close in just under 10%. Can Bilibilli, though, miraculously come back here? There's still some survival with the Wrecking Ball changeover on Over, and don't say switching to the Tracer. And what a return as a team to shift that momentum.
Oh boy, I feel like Over couldn't have picked Wrecking Ball fast enough to get back to this point, but that was a huge reason why Bilibilli Gaming were able to hold on to this point B defense. Yeah, Team CC walked away with 1/3 of that pie, but there's still that small sliver left that Team CC has to capture, and Bilibilli Gaming aren't going to be making the same mistakes twice.
No, they aren't, but you can see that Team CC wants the pie, but unfortunately it's going to have the fork taken away by Zijin, shutting down this engagement. 6 versus 5 as CC maneuvers up to that side position. The Dynamite along with Spectra using those sticky bombs start to really pressure that front line, but a flank and rotation by Zijin is actually maximizing this defensive hold, and the supports are there to give assistance. But Spectra still not out of the fight, hasn't been contested yet, gets the duplication onto the Sigma and still harasses and actually rotates away from the team to try and compete onto this point to maybe get that last little bit remaining and just win it here outright. But Winter wants to compete with their Sigma of their own, and the fact that the Sigma has been coming out more often from Winter is really changing the course of these fights.
Winter has been doing a phenomenal job on the Echo. Yeah, they're losing a couple of the 1v1s, but when the tank line gets aggressive, when they force Team CC to make a decision and to look either left, right, behind them, forward, coming at Bilibilli Gaming from multiple angles, it really does make a difference in terms of what Winter is capable of doing for the team.
Absolutely, and when you have so many angles like that and Winter maneuvering quickly, it is perplexing on where you want to try and focus fire. With the regroup, though, from Team CC, we've got a lot of ultimates coming out, and Super Rich generating that rally as quickly as possible to lead into this fight, but there's still some hesitation here before the next engagement.
Just a little bit of hesitation. You want to make sure your cooldowns are ready to go and that everybody is stacked in terms of their health before you move in.
And you've got Zijin going down early with those ultimates starting to be expended from Team CC. The Immortality Field from 1987 comes out at a miraculous time to keep so many alive. Bomb going to be thrown forward by Dia with Super Rich leading with the rally, the charge onto the point. And this is now a very difficult spot again for Bilibilli to be in. The respawns have to come through to compete as there's still a flank in the back. Both tanks have completely disassembled that attack from Team CC and is going to force a reform.
Something that Bilibilli Gaming has done really well is rotate through their ultimates, and especially because they've been able to get quick picks before Team CC is able to touch the point, it has been pushing Bilibilli Gaming into that advantage where they are fighting out 6v5.
I mean, you also see how aggressive Zijin is being, and the synergy with Sleep allowed so much of that aggression.
Sleep has been doing a phenomenal job this map, and you know, I did have a hark on them for using their immortality fields just a little bit too early, but it feels like they've fixed that, and they've also been showing up in a lot of different ways in order to keep this defense alive for Bilibilli Gaming. And there's so many ultimates that in this last couple of moments, Team CC are going to have to work against from Bilibilli Gaming. There's another gravitic flux from Zijin. Zijin's nailing these.
Yeah, and you're working with these ultimates against the final fight. 45 seconds, Spectra getting duplicate onto the Sigma. Barely survives with the Immortality Field as Dia takes out Sleep in the back, but the Amplification Matrix still was placed before the kill, so it's going to gain some value with Winter returning with with a Sigma of their own, lifting 3, following up after on not only onto 1987, but also to Dia, and just focusing, beaming every member in this small room, swiveling quickly. The bell toll rings, and with 15 seconds, Team CC's got to rush to this point.
Team CC might not even be able to get here, especially with Winter poised and primed for this re-engage. Gaga even feels the pressure that they are going to be switching over to the Wrecking Ball to proc this overtime.
Barely able to get onto the point, not gonna keep a moment longer, but there is assistance by having one other keep the overtime. Spectra on this Sombra, again, a desperate pick, not what Team CC wants going into this. Bob will get onto the point, but the fact is that Dia is no longer available on the back line, and despite the massive time bank that Team CC had going into B, and not only the time bank, but claiming this first tick, they will be prevented by Bilibilli Gaming on the defense, completely restructuring how they hold, and Bilibilli Gaming takes a map of their own on this first to 3.
Whew. This has been a wild roller coaster, and I felt that in my bone of bones in terms of how Bilibilli Gaming decided to approach Temple of Anubis. With a 5.5 time bank, did you notice that there was just a 2-minute long fight somewhere in point B when Bilibilli Gaming was on the defense? Team CC fought so hard, but Bilibilli Gaming fought harder.
It really, and again, I made a quick comment about it where Winter was starting to adopt this Sigma duplication, and I think that's actually starting to yield more value for them, and they recognize that from how Team CC was doing it earlier, coming out from Spectra. And with this great hold, it's a great morale boost. You're still in this losers final. You're not out of it yet. But before we get to see that third map and we get to see who takes the next point, we will go on to a brief break. So don't go anywhere, because we want to see between these two giants who's going to continue on. and welcome back, friends, as we are here to continue this match between Team CC and Bilibilli Gaming. I am Rich right here with Necra, and Necra, this next map, we see it 1-1. Do we think that that was more Bilibilli playing a lot better, or is it more so that Team CC was allowing themselves to get a little bit too overzealous here?
I think Team CC got just a little bit carried away, and especially
Okay.
when they got off their ultimate rotation from that 2-minute long fight that was in the middle of Bilibilli Gaming's defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I almost lost it because of
Yeah.
how long that fight was. But also just because there were so many ultimates expended there that Team CC kind of got off kilter in terms of what they wanted to rotate through and what they wanted to use. So I feel like that was unfortunately just Team CC not really playing up to the standards that we've seen them set in
Mm-hmm.
these last two series so far. So as we get a chance to look at this next map, which is going to be Team CC selection of Kings Row, I am super excited to see how Team CC plays this one out, just because they do have Spectre in their roster now, and with a highly skilled Echo, this becomes a whole different type of map.
It really does. I mean, I would agree with you full-heartedly that I don't think that last round on Temple of Anubis was to the full caliber that Team CC has been playing through the match prior, along with going into that control point, that they let themselves fall a little short. And now going into this, you're right. The Echo play, especially with this, new player coming in, is really going to be critical. And on this defensive side from Bilibilli, I want to see them still continue to maintain the immortality field from sleep, hold on to that, and really also watch their position from don't say.
Flanks are really, really important on this map of Kings Row, and what we've seen from Team CC is how their enemies have used those flanks against them, especially when Spectra and Dia have lost those 1v1s in the DPS battle. So I think that Team CC has a lot of resource and a lot of utility moving into these fights. They just have to make it through this first point, and then they get a chance to take advantage of those.
Oh, but the pick early from Dia is going to make this absolutely a challenge for Bilibilli to recover. And now the adjustment comes through where Dia is going to rotate to the Ashe. This Sia play, Sigma v Sigma, with the assistance from the back line from Super Rich, is going to just whittle down that health value. Finally gets the pick, and that is an absolutely amazing time bank going into this and transitioning it to the payload phase.
Yeah, that was a super fast take from Team CC, and they don't have a whole lot that they're going to be able to use in these next few fights, so winning out these overall brawls is going to be very important just to be able to get some things online. And unfortunately for Bilibilli Gaming, they have a lot of close respawns here.
They do, and they're still leading up to the ultimate, specifically Sleep, the closest one right now, just about on par here with 1987. But if 1987 can get that doorway with that amplification matrix, this is going to be another clean fight here for Team CC.
Yeah, we'll see if we do see the amplification matrix come out here. It's got to come online first, but Team CC is raring to go.
Yeah, they are, with that pressure forward, just looking to move as a unit through this archway. But because of the positioning from Bilibilli on the side corridor, it's really causing them to hesitate, and CC doesn't want to take it just yet.
No, gotta wait for those cooldowns to come online, or just ults.
Yep, ults can be there. Amplification matrix leading in with the Fortify from Gaga to survive through it. Zijin on the high ground looking to contest, but there's already far too many down from Bilibilli, and that's a cleanup from Team CC.
Yeah, Spectre has just had get a little bit of a reset here, but because the spawns are so close, it's going to be really easy for Spectre to come back. And with that light pick onto Don't Say, that buys so much time for this card to roll forward. Team CC able to take such aggressive positioning here, getting yet another reset onto Sleep. Ooh, that is going to hurt for Bilibilli Gaming. It hurts their prospects of coming back in and having a clean defensive hold for this second point.
Yeah, that was a Mace tipper right there at probably the farthest extent of the hitbox for that pick onto Sleep. Now with the bomb coming out up front here by Bilibilli. At this point, just really trying to gain the numbers advantage, but Gaga, along with Team CC, says otherwise and vaporizes the health value. Sia getting another because overplayed the inner corner and was exposed. No ability to get assistance from the supports, and that's another checkpoint. What a time bank!
I love the way that Super Rich has been playing with the rest of the team. Not often do you get a chance to see Brigitte actually use the Inspire and heal up the team, but the way that Team CC has been playing this whole map of Kings Row has been incredibly clinical. Bilibilli Gaming has had a hard time getting their foot out the door.
Dia is nutty right now on this front line as well. The chase is real. Bob ready again for this fight. And honestly, with that usage, the numbers advantage, and with how well these ultimates have stacked up for Team CC, it is a prime position to complete this right now at this moment, with Winter repositioning on the high ground on Echo, looking for a side angle to maybe take down Dia. It's really not going to be easy with the Flux coming out up front, but nice job by Sleep on the side, on that upper position, using the Immortality field to withstand the fall. Spectra gets a kill, and here comes Dia with 1987. Fluidly just removing every box of health on the enemy, and that is a 4-minute and 18-second time bank for Team CC.
Bilibilli Gaming never had a chance to set up on the defense. Every single pick mattered for Team CC to continue forward with the momentum that they generated in point A, and it felt dominant in point B and ever more so in point C. So Bilibilli Gaming, when they take a look at their attack, they've got to be flawless. They have to make it through all 3 checkpoints, and Team CC is a team that does really, really well with setup. And especially from the patience that they've been able to execute in these last couple of series, I think this is going to be a tough game for Bilibilli Gaming to continue.
It really is. Patience is a virtue, and Bilibilli is going to have to come out with everything they've got to try and take this defensive position from Team CC. And when you look at a 4-minute and 18-second time bank, that is just unbelievable, especially because of the tail end of Furnace being such a difficult place to finish off the payload.
Yeah, it just ends up being such a great way for the defense to set up. It's like kind of how it looks on every single type of map that involves a payload, or even when you're taking a look at just Assault alone. Point B is so defensively favored in that last checkpoint that Bilibilli Gaming had, again, just didn't have a chance to set up. They were always getting picked or getting forced into these very awkward positions to have to hold from, that they weren't able to get the damage necessary with the poke DPS.
Well, there's some nice poke coming out here, though, from Don't Say early on to the shield, looking to break it down for Sia to not have a full health charge as we push through from Bilibilli. Winter rotating back after the Symmetra repositions multiple members, and Don't Say still going to keep this long position as you have the rotation from Bilibilli come through just around the statue and in that small position where the Mega is, but actually Over's going to stick near this hotel, and it's quite a scattered position from Bilibilli.
Little bit scattered, but we've mentioned how this can actually play in their favor, especially if they're able to catch people off guard like that.
The fact that there's Dia out of this fight right now is a big chance for Bilibilli to take this with a swiftness. The mines come out on to Over, sticking quickly, but the nice assistance with the Immortality from Sleep keeps that front and center line tank alive and well. Winter cleans up against Spectra, and this is still a swift pickup by Bilibilli Gaming as well.
We did say that Bilibilli Gaming had to play this map pretty flawlessly, especially because of the hefty time bank that Team CC was able to garner during their first attack phase. So to Bilibilli Gaming, able to take this aggressive positioning as well is really going to help them in order to continue this cart forward. But most importantly, they need to develop ultimates right now if they want to have a chance of continuing to snowball through.
Absolutely. In addition to the ultimates, just finding picks like that onto Dia from the first round. If you can shut down Dia, who has been playing a stellar hit scan in the back on this Ashe, it is going to lead into some serious movement forward. Sleep going to force out the amplification matrix on the front side. That's the ultimate to lead into, so the remaining members of Bilibilli can generate some of their own. And Team CC respects it and is going to look for a recontest back over by this bookstore. Spectra going to force out a lot of shots through that amplification matrix, but Bilibilli respects that position forward, knowing that it's there, and is going to look to fall back themselves.
Lots of respect for the amplification matrices. No team wants to get caught off guard by that, but Team CC finds their opening.
And going to press on with Spectra, the Sigma duplicate again, consistently going to drop their counterpart. Zijin cannot do much here with that accretion getting the stun, a reset, and now a little bit of the time has been whittled off the clock here, but still a lot to go for Bilibilli.
That was an expensive fight for Team CC. They had to invest the Bob, the Gravitic Flux, and they also had to invest the duplicate in order to hold on to this point. So Bilibilli Gaming, they're going to be able to walk in with 4 ultimates of their own, potentially 5 now that Sleep is so close to a second amplification matrix. We just saw that ultimate come out, so Sleep has been able to generate that lightning fast.
Yeah, really been accelerating their gameplay and leveling up right now to keep Bilibilli in this fight from a support standpoint and synergizing with Illusion, who's going to lead in with the rally, making sure that everyone is reinforced, pushing into this fight around the bookstore, lifting multiple members from Zijin's Flux, great cleanup, holding onto the supercharger, and that is something at least to carry over into this next fight, which will probably have one more here from Team CC's defense if they can get back quick enough as a full 6.
We'll be able to get back a quick enough, but it kind of remains to be seen if they're going to have enough for this next checkpoint, Bilibilli Gaming. They have the supercharger, but that's kind of it, where Team CC is able to get ready for that supercharger with the rally of their own, and Sia is going to be working up to a second Gravitic Flux. So I think this is going to be a good fight for Team CC.
Yep, and you've got CC leading in with some great assistance from Super Rich, but the supercharger from Over is going to be very helpful. The immortality field has been used though by Sleep. This is a little early, I think. Once again, that could make it difficult for Team CC to maintain since there's no more survival from that backline support outside of Illusion, who's already almost dead themselves. Bob being picked up from Dia at this point because of that extra damage around the corner. Gonna be tossed out. Will obtain this hold here before the checkpoint. And now with a reset, 2 minutes and 25 seconds to go for Bilibilli to come back for another attempt.
Point 2 on King's Row is so hard because you have to kind of throw everything at the kitchen sink if you're the attacker in order to take that point and take that checkpoint. So unfortunately, when Bilibilli Gaming only had the supercharger and it went down almost as quickly as it went up, that was a tool that Bilibilli Gaming didn't have in their pocket to be able to sustain through that fight. We also mentioned the early use of the immortality field coming out from Sleep. So those 2 huge resources wasted in that fight for Bilibilli Gaming. Team CC played that super well and executed their game plan.
And Team CC is going to lead in with the Flux on the back, following up by Spectra as well. Already one out of the fight. It's a difficult position to be in, especially because you've had Winter already commit the duplicate here. Doesn't have it for this next engage, but there's still some value from Don't Say in the back, and Winter maintaining this high catwalk. Now with the duplication from Spectra, going on the Orisa this time, changing it up just slightly with those extra shield placements on the front line, but can't get to the supercharger just in time. Amplification Matrix does have to be committed by 1987, while Winter, still uncontested on this catwalk, is going to allow some great aggression and forcing this team of CC back, and Bilibilli pushing in the home stretch.
Bilibilli pushing into the home stretch. They do have 2.5 minutes on the clock in order to capture this 3rd objective and bring us into extra rounds. But Spectra has their heart set on getting these DPS of Bilibilli Gaming out of these fights quickly.
I mean, it's really how well these DPS have been playing for both Don't Say and Dia. If that Ashe goes down, the fight is so heavily shifted, and Spectra's doing a great job focusing just as much as Winter is.
The DPS are just, they have to go toe-to-toe with each other.
And with Zijin now going to go toe-to-toe with a Sigma counterpart, Sia going to get lifted, but nice coverage here from the assistance of the kinetic grass to mitigate the damage. Gaga is going to force out the supercharger as well. Bilibilli going to have to play careful around this corner as a focus beam comes out from Spectra to clean up one with a follow-up from Supercharge. There's a nice little environmental kill that could have gone through, but Spectra says, no, I want it now, and that's a reset.
A reset and a stabilization for Team CC's defense. Now this gives Team CC the time to build up how they want to perform in these last couple of team fights, where Bilibilli Gaming realistically has 2 more chances to capture this 3rd objective. And let's hope that they don't use all the ultimates that they have in this next fight and not find value from it.
Well, the biggest thing is with Illusion, if they're going to push this rally first, it needs to be used early. You've made comments about this before, getting maximum armor generation, but Spectra's going to lead with an ultimate first here from Team CC. The duplication onto the Sigma for a quick Gravitic Flux. Nice accretion coming out onto Winter, but barely survives. Illusion keeping up in the back along with Sleep, using the Amplification Matrix on that side catwalk position to compete against the remaining stragglers of Team CC on the outskirts. Spectra, though, going to dive in from the high ground after the duplicate falls, the focus beam, and gets absolutely taken down from Zijin with the assistance from the supports. Gravitic Flux from Winter, duplicating a Sigma of their own, lifting one. The follow-up from Don't Say's cleaning up the back line, but there's still some opportunity of recovering from Team CC because Super Rich has the rally, and the spawns with Bob are coming out.
Yeah, Bilibilli Gaming's just not getting these kills fast enough in order to secure this objective, and they used everything that they had in that last fight. So looking at this last engagement, they're really only going to be able to Gravitic Flux.
And that is just a difficult position to be in. It is a great ultimate, but needs to gain value and unfortunately will not land on anyone in the back. Now with Gaga being taken out, the rotation comes through. It's going to be on to Roadhog for this last-ditch effort for survival, needing to touch the point as Spectra's on the high ground, equalizing the remaining numbers. Don't stay in the back, needs this Bob, has to throw it. The overtime shreds away and Bob doesn't get there! It's gonna get knocked back and Team CC takes this and the brink of overtime. Oh man.
Whew. This has been such a wild series so far, and it's been a lot closer than what I think the score line of the first series would have suggested. Team CC looks so dominant versus Light Gaming that I even expected that when Team CC came up against Bilibili, that there were going to be some changes here, and it was going to look to be very difficult for Bilibili Gaming now to make it through this series.
Absolutely. And we've seen, you know, Bilibili compete, like we said before, in week 4. But the other part of it is, too, is you had Flag do a number on both of them. So, like we said, at this point, both are just in a fight or flight moment. And I can tell you that Bilibili, with this next map selection, is going to feel confident going into it. And at this point, I would not be surprised to see anything outside of the ordinary with their character selection, kind of like what we saw on the control point. It was a little bit of outside of their comfort zone. And with that not yielding any value, Bilibili is going to be committed to this and really just has to pull together, coordinate amongst each other, clear comms, and get level headed to compete against Team CC, who on King's Row really dominated.
They looked really good on that map, that's for sure. But you know, if there's a team that has the mental fortitude to make it through this series, it's going to be Bilibili Gaming. Remember that week 4 performance between Bilibili Gaming and Team CC? I think that's going to really play a difference here in terms of whether or not Bilibili Gaming can bring us to a map 5.
And we can just take a lovely spotlight here of the hit scan play, and then even the frontline tanks from Over as well, just using the Fortify. I'm a big Orisa fan myself, so I love seeing these little clips like this. But as we said, it is going to be another map coming at you shortly. So again, with the conclusion here, you can see that survival with whatever possible from Team CC, able to prevail on the defense. The overtime shreds away and allows them to take that second map. We're going to go on a brief break before we enter into this fourth map to see if Bilibili can once again even the score, or is Team CC going to claim this match point now and continue into the grand finals. Don't go anywhere, friends. Welcome back again, friends. Again, We don't have too long of a breaks here because we want to bring you that action quickly and make sure that you stay tuned for this amazing conclusion of the Chinese Contenders region. And again, I am Rintrad here with Necra. We've seen 2 maps go to Team CC, 1 map go to Bilibilli, and now we enter in onto Dorado, which is Bilibilli's choice. And I really like seeing Dorado coming out here for this escort selection.
I do too. I love Dorado specifically because there's so many different ways that you can play this map, especially when you think about how you have to think and kind of bring yourself into team fights from point A to point B to point C. You've got the verticality on point B that has to play very differently than the enclosed spaces on point C. So very interesting to see how Bilibilli Gaming and Team CC are both going to adapt to this. But we're going to see that Team CC opts to go for the defense first. They are really trying to close it out soon.
Absolutely, and as you can see with the scoring, Team CC hasn't played too much on this map, only having the 1 attempt. Bilibilli not really getting much more opportunity on this as well, but still feeling confident since it is their map choice. And with this defensive side, Dia is going to lead with this Widow and try and get an early pick.
Oh, this is really important. Not one, because I love seeing Dia's Widowmaker. Dia is such a standout on this hero. And 2, because the quick picks, yeah, they're also, like, you don't even need to just get quick picks, you just need to break these shields.
Absolutely, and once those shields are down, it opens the sight line for Dia to dominate with those headshots. But there is a rotation back. Team CC respectful here, and Bilibilli going to move through this archway and try and transition to the high ground, but don't say, looking for some sight lines.
Ooh, but this high ground advantage, however small it is for Team CC, is really paying off dividends for their defensive hold.
Yeah, and this rotation from that high ground is going to yield a lot of dividends here, with Sia mitigating so much of those firing from the kinetic grasp and sustaining this high ground position. Bilibilli is kind of unsure of what to do at the present moment.
They've got to wait their time and figure out what they want to do when their cooldowns come back. I think it's smart to take a bit of a break here, especially because Team CC has been so dominant on this defense so far.
Definitely, and especially with Dia maintaining that high ground like you talked about earlier, you can see Don't Say trying to just skirt that corner for a potential sight line and holding near that truck to not get outmaneuvered. But the halt and reposition is going to be very helpful to Dia on this back line. And with that immortality field gone, no one can be prevented from a shot to the dome, as Don't Say transitions underneath this building near where that health pack is with the rest of the team. And this is a nice setup here to prevent those sight lines. And although it's going to prevent some sightlines, 1987 is still going to find some value here onto Illusion. Oh, and a pick from Dia.
Oh, the tracking. That's what you like to see coming out from Dia's Widowmaker. That's why this hit scan is so dominant on Widowmaker. But also, look at Team CC just completely stuffing Bilibilli Gaming into this choke.
Yeah, you see Dia just dropping down saying, all right, I got my pick. Now I'm going to come in and say hi with the rifle. Just be like, I'm a auto fire. We don't need the scope here.
No scope. No scopes at all for Dia. But they have their scopes set onto the respawns of Bilibilli Gaming as they come back out of spawn. Dia's trying to get another quick pick before Bilibilli Gaming's able to touch his cart. But also, look again at the ultimate economy. Team CC is just completely rolling through that.
They're, from Team CC, just hard outpacing this fight right now from Bilibilli, and Bilibilli is just struggling to get back into this. The ultimates need to come out tried and true, but you've got a focus beam to gain 2 early onto Bilibilli, and this will be a force of nature to reckon with, as Bilibilli's only going to have 1 last attempt here.
Yeah, there's only a minute left on the clock. If Bilibilli Gaming's fast enough, Rich, maybe they've got 2 chances at this, but Team CC has not been letting them get close to this cart. This is a hard position for the offense to be in now that the defense has taken such firm control of this bridge.
Absolutely, and with this final fight territory, Zijin needs this flux and has to find value with it and lead in with Don't Say and the supercharger from Over, and it has to come swiftly.
Bilibilli Gaming has 5 alts here. They should be able to stack these efficiently and effectively as long as Team CC doesn't use this. Ooh, wait. Or if Bilibilli Gaming just gets a pick.
Yeah, Winter getting that is a real important moment right now for Bilibilli to keep pushing this payload forward. Winter going to transition to the high ground position, looking for where that Widowmaker position is from Dia. Bob does go down, so that ultimate is now expended. Winter almost being brought down, forces the duplicate onto the Baptiste with the immortality field dropped up front to survive through the fall and keep alive. But that flux from Team CC does get a lot of damage out onto the back line. But Super Rich's rally, along with the healing from 1987, is going to allow this to potentially switch sides. And Bilibilli cannot sustain through that ultimate usage from Super Rich to keep the team up along with the Inspire. But surprisingly, Illusion's gonna say otherwise and be like, no, I can do that too, friend. I'm on Brig. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna stick here.
Yeah, but it's just over left on this card.
And with now over the last few ounces of health, buying enough time for the Tracer to get back from Winter. Don't say on the Sombra. These picks are not what Bilibilli want. Under 3 meters to go and are halted from this checkpoint. There's the pick on the Wrecking Ball. The longer it is, the faster it vanishes, and that will be a hold before first point from Team CC.
Well, that card does not have too far to go now, does it, Rich Red?
Nope, not at all.
My goodness, Team CC has looked like such a dominant force, and a lot of that has to do with how Spectra has been using the focusing beams, especially when that has such a long cooldown respective to the other pieces of Echo's kit. You have to be able to manage that cooldown effectively, and so it's been great to see Spectra really come into their own in this match and in these 2 series that we've gotten a chance to see them play in so far. As a reminder for those of you that are watching, Spectra is the youngest person on this team at 15 years old. So that's kind of something that speaks volumes to how far this player has to go yet in their career in Overwatch.
Well, and to build on that, you also have to think too, and I try and put myself in the same shoes back when I was 15 years old. If I'm in a playoff position at a 15-year age in Overwatch, in front of all of these people, and the potential opportunity of even being, in the grand scale of things, picked up in your future career, that is so much riding on your shoulders. And to come into this with such a dominant play, that's just it's really, really quite spectacular to see.
So confident, so refined, so skilled. It's been such a pleasure to watch all of these players, honestly, and Chinese contenders get a chance to showcase what they have for everybody that's been watching. Like we've been, really talking up the DPS players on Team CC, but I've got to say that even though this looks like to be such a one-sided match between Team CC and Bilibilli Gaming, Bilibilli has a lot of standout players as well. If you haven't gotten a chance to check out the other series with Don't Say in Winter, they've been really big key players for Bilibilli Gaming, and Zijin has some really standout moments too. Even just in the last couple of weeks playing this Sigma, Zijin has really started to come into their own. We've seen them just completely change face in terms of how to play this hero.
Indeed, with a face that might have enough here to hold against Team CC. The distance is not far to reach this checkpoint, but it is still a distance that Bilibilli feels confident that they can hold. We've seen it on Temple of Anubis. Can this come through again? Dia's going to gain an early pick onto Don't Say, and that could really start changing the tides here.
Changing the tides. There's still some shields from Bilibilli Gaming, but I don't know if they're going to be able to turn this one back around.
No, I don't believe so. It looks like it's going to be a nice, still few pick off. Winter looking for a flank onto Dia. That's a critical pick to take that out. But unfortunately, you've got 1987 responding. The staggers come through for both sides, but despite all of the lives lost in this exchange, Don't Say gets back, cleans up with the remaining members, especially with Zijin, and now it's going to be held with 2 minutes and 45 seconds still to go.
Don't Say coming back on this Tracer was a huge asset for Bilibilli Gaming's defense, and because of how long Bilibilli Gaming were able to sustain in this fight, they're going to be able to have ultimates coming into this next team fight that Team CC is bringing to the table. And that's really what you need in terms of holding on to this defense, is take a look at the fact that Zijin has Gravitic Flux, and Winter's going to have the duplicate too.
Yeah, both of those are critical to go into this for this defensive position. Again, you want to just buy the clock to get to a final fight position. Duplication comes out from Spectra first, though, with the Sigma. Doesn't generate the ultimate fast enough, is eliminated early. Super Rich as well. Sia, such a stack of lives lost for Team CC in the kill feed, and Bilibilli Gaming forcing out Winter's Flux here might have been a little too aggressive, I think.
Forcing out the flux, but that's okay. There's still 2 minutes left on the clock, so even though you got the gravitic flux out now, you're going to be able to develop another one by the time that this time bank has expired. But you know, for Bilibilli Gaming, based on the situation that they're in, it's pretty precarious. They can't really afford to make mistakes, or Team CC sees that golden box of victory and they're going to be able to bring it to the end of the series. So this Tracer Pulse Bomb from Don't Say has to be huge to stall out this push from Team CC.
Absolutely. It has to at least get one pick. That's like the biggest thing. It needs to get one at least for it to be worthwhile. Winter along with Spectra going head to head here in the aerial battle, but a nice halt in the back with a supercharger committed by Gaga just around the corner. Winter responds effectively to that to make sure that it is not going to continue that boosted damage, and you have Sleep committing the amplification matrix in that doorway, but still a couple of ultimates remain for Bilibilli. Supercharger and Pulse Bomb, but the double kill comes through on the tank line, and it's now an opportunity for Team CC to push this to the final box.
Wow, just going to be a little bit of cleanup here for Team CC, but Bilibilli Gaming's reinforcements are not going to be able to come back fast enough. Don't Say doing their best on this cart, though.
Did buy quite a bit of time, and now Bilibilli, it's a weird position because you had enough time stalled out from Don't Say, but it's not somebody such as the Wrecking Ball who could be there to secure it. So the Supercharger is going to be dropped by Over. Duplication from Spectra on the high ground, getting a lot of value with the halt onto it, and no one touches it! Team CC manages to prevail and push through this loser's bracket and move to compete against Flag Gaming. And they look like they are not fatigued at all to keep this momentum against it. This will be their third match in a row coming up right now.
Wow. And this is just kind of phenomenal gameplay coming out from Team CC. And again, the fact that they felt confident enough to switch Innovation out in favor of Spectra is insane. I just can't say that enough that we're going to see Team CC in the grand finals.
I mean, they've claimed multiple weeks over the 4, and then now we come into playoffs where they're dropped to the loser's bracket and climb their way back. I can tell you right now that Team CC is going to be still a giant in this region to take down, and Flag Gaming has done it once before, and I'm curious to see if they can do it again. But before we start getting into that, we will not be the ones bringing you that live action. That is going to be LaFon and Pulsable to finish off this grand finals. But Necra, it has been a pleasure to be commentating this Overwatch Contenders China with you for this entire season.
This entire season has been such a blast, Rich, and it all comes back to being able to tell the stories of all of these experienced and just wonderful players that we've been able to see in the region. I'm so glad that there are so many people showing this region so much love. Thank you for supporting Tier 2, and I hope you guys will stick around to be able to see the grand finals between Flag Gaming and Team CC.
LaFon Impossible, take it home, friend.
One more match separates us from our grand champion here in the first season of Contenders China 2020. Will a new flag wave over the region, or will the Kings return from the lower bracket and get their revenge? Only one way to find out, folks, and that's to sit your butts in your seats and watch this very last match alongside myself, Pulsable, with me, LaFon. We get the honor of bringing this to you, all of you, at the Overwatch League channel nonetheless. LaFon, a lot of new faces we're seeing today in the chat, just watching. Thank you all for joining us, but we got to catch these people up because this season has played out crazy. The playoff bracket has been even more wild.
Yeah, and before we get into the actual matches from this playoffs, we got to go back all the way to week number 4 in the regular season, because that's really where it all starts, Paul. It goes with Bilibilli Gaming versus Team CC in week 4 of the regular season, all 5 maps, and the only week that Team CC drops their bracket there. So the fact of the matter is the lower bracket for Team CC is a surprise, but after, a 3-0 loss to Flag in the upper bracket earlier in the playoffs, they come in hot and stomp their way through the lower bracket, looking honestly really good in the last 2 matches we've seen them.
I mean, we can almost call this a San Francisco-esque run back through the lower bracket, the shock like they did in the 2019 full season playoffs, right? So you Overwatch League folks will surely be familiar with that at the very least. But let's talk about Team CC specifically, because even though they flubbed a little in week 4, we still had confidence for this team to be the best in our playoff bracket. And they struggled early, like you said, lost to Flag, but they have been looking reinvigorated thus far in the last few matches.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. I think at the beginning of the playoffs, pound for pound, you could say that everybody on Team CC was best in slot in terms of their DPS, in terms of their character potential. However, coming into the playoffs, that was no longer the case. We saw some improvement from Don't Say on Bilibilli Gaming, Shou Cheng and C-Wave on Flag, who are going to come up obviously today, looked fantastic in that DPS role. And I think in terms of the Flag, Monk and Fengyan have looked superb in the support lineup, obviously rivaling 1987 and Super Rich on Team CC. So obviously revelations in that particular aspect, but as we saw in the last 2 matches versus Light Gaming and against Bilibilli Gaming in the lower bracket finals, the addition of Spectre has made a big difference, because now we can talk about the highlight, the number 1 DPS in this region, Dia, finally playing entirely on his main role.
Oh, yeah. Everybody should know who Dia is. And if you don't, keep an eye on him. This man, coming from the 0-40 Shanghai Dragons in the inaugural season of the Overwatch League, gets bounced around for a while, doesn't really play a whole lot last year, but this year he's coming in. He's on a 2-way contract now alongside the Shanghai Dragons, who have been looking much better, on Team CC, which is the Shanghai Dragons academy team. And he's undoubtedly the best DPS player in this region. We consider him one of the best DPS players in Contenders in general. Should certainly be on the lookout for him to be moving up back to the Overwatch League sooner rather than later, hopefully. But even still, LaFon, Team CC struggled despite having Dia just because of the hero pool limitations. And with the addition of Spectra in the last couple matches, we've seen Team CC reach their full potential.
And that full potential is Dia on the hit scan, right? He's a legacy hit scan player. We don't really expect him to play that flex DPS role. To this point, that was Kami and Innovation's sort of realm of control. And with Spectra being able to play the Echo, you no longer have this weird composition where you have Innovation who plays the Sombra, the Tracer, the Mei, but doesn't really have the Echo in his repertoire. And that allows, again, that solidifying of roles that Team CC has kind of needed. It's not enough to just stomp all over everyone on your way here. You finally have a true team that can play in all 3, I would say, major flavors of compositions, rush, dive, and poke, and look good the whole way. That being said, map number 1 will be control, of course, and that means Nepal is our starting playground here in our grand finals here in Contenders China.
A nice chilly warm-up for both of these teams. You can feel the tension already. I mean, they're not even out of spawn yet, but this is a rematch for the ages. Flag Gaming took an unbelievable upset against them early to knock Team CC down in the lower bracket. And Team CC is going to want their revenge. We're getting into it, folks. Getting into the game. Let's see how it plays out. We're hitting Village to start us off.
thing you have to notice early is that innovation is in instead of Spectra. Makes sense. The Mei is incredibly strong, especially here on Village, Paul. So off the back of that, look for that control on the objective, look for the walls, and look for the chain CCs. Team CC looking to get that first early percentage on the point.
Flag Gaming's kind of beat them to it, though, LaFon. They've already taken up residence on the objective, and with the Symmetra, those turrets are going to be very hard to remove. A nice wall. Monk gets caught. Regardless of the immortality field, he throws down, and a nice headshot from Innovation. Make no mistake, he might have been subbed out earlier today, but he's still a monster. And so is the rest of Team CC. They're going to wipe Flag Gaming off and take the point for themselves.
And I mean, it just comes down to, in my opinion, a superior composition from Team CC. Lucio, unfortunately, he's no longer in his heyday, right? The speed is not as effective as the control of immortality field. Just keeping your team alive is so massive. And of course, Brig with her repair packs, a huge difference maker. Coming in, Team CC have, keep an eye on Sia here. He farms up nearly to the Gravitic Flux in first fight, and notoriously slow building ultimate, Paul. So I don't even think Flag Gaming is aware this is on the field.
Oh, and now Flag Gaming are split too. That teleporter got walled off by Innovation. Only part of the team was able to actually move their way toward the objective. Innovation caught himself, will have the cryo freeze, keep himself alive long enough for that wall to drop and the rest of Team CC to move on in. Blizzard coming out from Innovation 2, and Flag Gaming are locked down, taken down, removed from the objective. They'll get a few measly percentage, but it's not worth much.
Yeah, I think this is Flag getting a taste of their own medicine. If you recall the 3-0 that Flag had over Team CC in the upper bracket a while back, Paul, Flag really were in control in the poke composition. They really held all the cards, so to speak, and Team CC is giving them a bit of a taste of their own medicine here, and I don't necessarily think Flag Gaming is too happy with that. But coming back in now, it's a soft reset in terms of that ult economy. Team CC did have to use quite a... I think here, Team CC can play off their damage advantage, especially with C-Wave here on the Symmetra. You don't really have that early dynamite potential.
And the Symmetra is kind of a question mark for me, LaFon. Bob's going to go down onto the point and deal so much damage. More damage than pretty much the entirety of Flag Gaming is dealing at all right now. Already one kill coming down. Sound barrier will drop, so Flag will be able to sustain with their 5 remaining members. But for how long is the real question. They get another flip, so they'll get percentage and stall out Team CC. Blizzard now down onto the objective. That rally isn't going to be enough, but Dia and Super Rich get out of the frozen zone, and Innovation can't even be removed. The pocket, the healing, it's too much. And Team CC are going to reclaim the point again.
Where was Team CC like 3 games ago? This is the Team CC that we've kind of had all season long. I'm actually genuinely impressed with the restraint that Team CC is showing here, Paul, right? And on top of that, just the mechanical skill that Dia brings to the table. We saw it there. Facing down facing down C-Wave, who was on the Symmetra, and it really, even though Dia was at half HP, it was C-Wave who was the one in trouble. Goes down to that headshot. A couple of shots here.
So nasty, though. Already everything forced defensive-wise from Flag Gaming. This is a massacre. Bob's in once again. Dia had it ready for this fight. A 3K is going to be how we leave Village. Flag Gaming, I think they need a hefty reevaluation of what kind of compositions they're running out on, LaFon.
I think this is a team that I don't think Flag expected to see, right? And we really have to draw back to that 3-0 that Flag had over Team CC in the upper bracket in the quarterfinals, because I feel like Flag comes in here a little lackadaisically. They come in a little mild, a little bit unaware, really, of the aggression that Team CC comes in with. And you have to say, Flag Gaming may have woken the beast, right? Team CC ambling along. We're the best team in the region. We dropped only one match, one series. Okay, we're taking it easy. Then Flag gives them a wake-up call and drops them to the lower bracket. It looks like Team C is out to win it. They come in gunning, and Flag just really aren't there to contest.
Flag gonna switch up their composition holistically now. Only Kodama remaining on the same hero he had. And that'll be the Sigma, as you would expect, realistically speaking. C-Wave on this Widowmaker. Very interesting choice to take into Dio. Probably the best Widowmaker in the region, but right now he's just rocking the Ashe, so C-Wave will have greater pick potential in theory, but you have to actually find these headshots, and right now it's a struggle bus. Kodoma's going to try and contest the point, but not long for this world is he. Discord Orb onto Shochang. Sure, he can harass Sia, but is not more than harassment, and with that recall already blown, he's got to back on out, taken down as well.
More amusing than Sia just standing there just staring Shochang. He says, what are you going to do? You're
Swatting
playing
a fly.
Tracer to Torbjorn, and then you have to come to me. It's kind of a tough place to be, right? And I would, yeah, exactly. Shochang switches over to the, you need a little bit more burst potential. Obviously, the sticky bombs can insta-kill the turret if you land all of them. So a good change here, I think, from Flag Gaming to adapt to Team CC showing. And I think here now, walking in, the question is, you need to win this fight here if you're Flag, because you need to burn before the resources of Team CC come online.
Flag Gaming, they're trying to do exactly that, charging on forward, but they've already used so much. Kodomo goes off the map, and Reborn joins him in the grave. Flag Gaming, they tried to rush and get that aggressive fight you were talking about, LaFon, but they get torn to bits in that tiny little hallway.
Yeah, this is super unfortunate now, actually, for Flag Gaming. And if Seawave goes down here, that's even worse. Sia, 1 HP, he gets him. Okay, so the reason why that's so bad is that Team CC is now going to be up to the 50, 60-ish mark on control percentage. They don't have to use any ultimates to really get there, and then Flag Gaming is going to be walking in with just the amplification matrix. So Team CC can trade 1-for-1 and still have tools left over. Paul, you're looking at a last fight territory for Flag Gaming unless CC botches miserably.
Well, CC don't get much out of that Gravitic Flux. Sia probably going to want that one back. He will force some defensive cooldowns, but it's not the elimination he was looking for. And already the Immortality Field committed from Team CC, but now they got the Amplification Matrix down. Flag Gaming are stuck in that tiny little room by the objective. They can walk out as the Amplification Matrix expires, but we're up to 82%. Flag Gaming have got to make a move, and right now it's slow going for them. Bob is available for Dia, so no actual players need to contest the objective. Bob's going to go do it himself. It actually goes a little bit too far. Goes into the room. So Flag Gaming will get this flip. The Molten Core dropping down on the objective, though. I don't think the flip is going to last very long.
Zach talking about, Flag Gaming get no cooldowns whatsoever, and it's going to be curtains on this map. It's going to be an easy 2-0 here for Team CC.
Yep.
It's sub 50% control capture percentage in total for Flag Gaming there on Nepal, and I have to say, an excellent adaptation there from Team CC. If Flag is content to sit around and do nothing, Team CC is going to be more than happy to let them do that.
Yeah, I mean, the onus wasn't on Team CC to do anything there. They already had the point, right? Flag Gaming have to make something happen. We need to see them be more proactive as we can continue this series. And it's a little bit interesting, realistically speaking. I think compositionally, LaFon, I don't feel like Flag Gaming walked out on what was working for them when they beat Team CC last time.
No, I think Flag Gaming has, throughout the entirety of the playoffs and even the regular season, we've called Flag Gaming sort of the gatekeepers of the upper echelons of Contenders China, and they play a very safe, a very predictable, but also very few mistakes style of play throughout their time in Contenders China. Unfortunately, that's not the team we really saw on Nepal, Paul, right? The compositional choice, a misplay in my opinion. You play a rush composition when you know Team CC is capable of playing that poke now, and this really comes down to the fact that I think Flag is a little out of their element. They're not expecting the mirror composition to work out in their favor, so they're trying to find ways around it. And unfortunately, when you've got the mechanical skill that Team CC does, it's simply not going to work in the 1v1 scenarios.
No, and I mean, you were talking about the rough spot Lucio is in, right? In general, Rush is in general. I mean, if you're coming from NA Contenders or something of that nature, you have probably seen a lot more Lucio than certainly we've seen here in Contenders China. We're going to take a look back at the highlights and the domination Team CC had. And this is where it all started, right? That rush composition not getting anything done for Flag Gaming at all. I mean, it's just easy pickings with ultimates like that.
Thing too is you're relying on Fengyan here, who's been a fantastic support player this season. I think his Brigitte has been absolutely stellar in the playoffs. The only issue is on the Lucio, doesn't build up to the sound barrier, and all of a sudden now you're playing at a disadvantage in the support battle. So a real tough place to be if you're the members of Flag Gaming. You just don't have the healing required to stay up in these long trade wars. So ultimately, I think a compositional misplay here in map number 1 from Flag Gaming.
Well, they'll have to lock it down in map 2. Remember, it's a best of 7 now that we're in the grand finals. We're going to head to a quick break, and when we come back, round 2 between Flag and Team CC. It was a dominant map from Team CC when we went to Nepal. Now, we're going to switch things up. Head over to Hanamura, and it's Flag Gaming's map choice. Lafon, Flag Gaming on map 1, I don't think they really had the right idea.
No, they did not. And I think this comes down to a specific angle, and that's I think Flag Gaming has sort of not expected Team CC to level up their poke composition this quickly, especially because of where they were, at the very start of the playoffs and when their poke composition was frankly bad. I think that's a fair thing to say about Team CC in regards to the rest of this region when it comes to compositional choices. However, the fact of the matter is it feels like CC in their last 2 matches has shown a much higher adaptation when it comes to that rush or that poke composition. My bad. And really, I think it comes down to the fact that we have Dia playing the Ashe and he's allowed to play the hit scan. And on top of that, his tanks haven't really been running in anymore, so they're able to create a lot more space. It makes it a lot easier for the DPS of Team CC to kind of just slow it down and rely on those mechanical plays that Dia and company can bring to the table.
And interestingly enough, as we head to Hanamura, Innovation is staying in once again. It's been all Spectra that we've seen today on broadcast, but since we're going to Hanamura, Mei is very good on this map, and it seems Team CC are more confident in Innovation's Mei alongside the rest of their team right now.
Well, I think, this really does fit, again, into Innovation's hero pool, right? He can play the Echo now, too, which is a huge deal. On top of that, we are going to see the teleporter here from Seawave. I would not expect this to be very effective, and there's that wall from Innovation to shut it down.
Yeah, Seawave's already dead. Not a great start there for Flag Gaming. They're just going to lose about 40 seconds off their clock.
There was one thing actually that I wanted to kind of highlight, because we mentioned at the top of the broadcast that this is the SF Shock run back-esque look here from Team CC. And I think, this demonstrates just what Team CC is to this region. They're a team that I think is the best in this region by far, significantly through the regular season. In the playoffs, got, again, a little bit more laid back, and then quickly found out, Flag being the team that led them to that, hey, you can't go to sleep in this region because teams will take advantage of you. And you know what? They're back in the salty run back, and they're doing a fantastic job of shutting down this grand final so far.
Oof, that wall not quite what Team C was looking for there. They're going to try and stuff the cut-off members of Flag Gaming in this tiny little room. And actually, Fengmian does get separated. A lot of damage going into that brig, but he'll be able to keep himself alive. And the Sigma of Kodomo will peel for him, too. Gotta be careful. Diaz just got this high ground. Chucks Bob down right on top of their heads, lands the big Omnic Butler. He'll deal some damage, but it's trades across the board. Kodomo still locking down this room. Bob not really doing much of anything out in the courtyard, as it is a scrappy little brawl. But Team CC get the better end of it.
The one thing here is that we were talking up Fengmian massively, and he does have the rally, but it really is, again, from Team CC, a team effort. Oh, Seawave, if you die here, this would be absolutely disastrous for your chances at early fights. So he's looking for that poke. He's looking for that early damage, but not going to find it, so he's going to back out here. Sia, again, with the Gravitic Flux, Paul. Keep an eye on that here. I would expect the halt Gravitic Flux.
I mean, it already lands onto one. I believe that was actually a stun out of it there.
Yeah.
Kodomo hitting him with the accretion, and Dia's gone. Amplification Matrix out. The Blizzard trying to negate the damage pumped in from Flag Gaming. Immortality Field goes down, but it's not enough to keep Flag up. And that is yet another wipe. Team CC, solid thus far.
Again, but that's an alt dump. I was going to say that's an alt dump, but it's not really, Paul, because they still have the 3 damage mitigation and damage amplification tools that are possible in this net fight. Supercharger and Amplification Matrix, obviously. And if Team CC plays this right, if they play this aggressively, then I think off the back of the Supercharger and the rally, they're going to be able to really take this fight ahead of Flag Gaming.
Flag Gaming only down to 1 minute 6 seconds now. Kodomo has that Gravitic Flux, but he needs to find value with it. Amplification Matrix is going to make it so difficult for Flag Gaming to enter, too. They're just stalled out more. Shocheng's caught. Cryo Freeze will delay his death, but Bob's not going to save his life. Dynamite going in, but Shocheng has seemingly made his escape, and the rest of Flag Gaming are here to back him up now. Gravitic Flux going out. Completely whiffs from Kodomo. That was their biggest ultimate available. Still a Blizzard. Still a Supercharger. Flag Gaming aren't done quite yet. but they have to get on the objective. This is the first time they've actually touched the point this map, and they've still got a long way to go, even as they take that first tick.
That first tick could be a difference maker here, Paul, because you do have a win condition now. Flag committing heavily to this fight. There's that amplification matrix.
2 ticks down now. Amplification matrix walled off for the most part. Oh, Reborn takes so much damage. Immortality field goes down, and so does the supercharger. It's all on Shocheng. He's got to find this blizzard. He gets killed in the middle of the animation. He doesn't even get the blizzard on the floor to help his team before he dies. Flag Gaming are wiped off the point. They're not going to have a chance to get this point A unlocked. And Team CC, nothing short of dominant thus far this series.
And I mean, this is what we wanted to see. The exclamation point, Paul. The last second touch is not enough. But I'm really impressed with the rotation that Team CC are doing. Even when Flag looks like they have opportunities, Paul, it has not been really enough to shake the confidence from Team CC, and they're making this look incredibly easy, frankly.
Honestly.
And I did not expect that to be the case here in our grand finals.
Team CC feel 8 steps ahead of Flag Gaming right now, LaFawn. Anytime Flag tries to rotate, use an ultimate, somebody's there with a wall to separate them. Somebody's there counteracting with their own ult. Team CC are looking through the matrix right now to figure out Flag Gaming. And Flag Gaming, they need a complete mental and literal reset if they don't want to go down 2-0 in the first 2 maps of this series.
Well, it's something you actually said. You said that Team CC are 8 steps ahead of Flag Gaming, and that draws back to something fundamental in Overwatch that I think separates the greatest teams from the merely good, is that in the moments when Flag has opportunities, right? They have the Gravitic Flux, they have the Supercharger and the Bob and so on and so forth. It's not Team CC who are panicking and making mistakes. They're just continuing about their day. They're like, okay, the proper rotation here is we use Rally to sort of mitigate the damage, and when we use the amplification matrix, etc., etc. In those moments where you think Flag should be in control, it's Flag panicking and making the mistakes. And I think, again, as I said, that's what separates the great teams from just the merely good.
Flag Gaming, they're going to have to prove that they're not merely good themselves and that their earlier win was not Team CC flubbing, but Flag Gaming deserving to be in these grand finals. Thus far, Team CC are just dominating them. Right now, just looking for an opening pick. The Dynamite gonna whiff from Dia, but it'll be back up soon enough. Team CC slowly forcing their way through this choke point. Flag Gaming not really committing to actually taking that advantage when it comes to the positioning on this map. They're allowing Team CC to enter the courtyard. They want to set up a crossfire, want to surround Team CC, but it's not happening. Nobody's helping Reborn. He gets left out to dry. And now there's 2 other members isolated from the rest of Flag Gaming. This was over before it began on Hanamura. Already Team CC are on the point, nearly at the first tick, working up towards the second. There's an Ashe to contest, but they won't get to the point. Team CC already up 2-0. They just need to double their score now if they want to be the grand champion.
And I mean, it's looking more and more likely, Paul. We have a little bit of a inside joke here in Contenders China that the grand finals will be a 4-0, whether you like it or not. And it's showing here, I think, from Team CC, because it genuinely feels that at no point in time are Flag Gaming ever in control of a fight. We're not talking at this point about can Flag come back in the series. I want to see them take a point first, Paul, and it's really going to have to start in map number 3, again, Flag Gaming's pick.
Yeah, we're going to go right to map number 3 after this quick break. Stick around. We still got plenty of Overwatch left to play. The San Francisco Shock-esque salty run back through the lower bracket thus far is going pretty well for Team CC. They're already 2 maps up and are starting to take their revenge against Flag Gaming here in the grand final.
And that means as we head into map number 3, which would be hybrid, and it's going to be King's Row.
Okay.
You gotta feel that this is a bit of an odd choice by Flag, Paul. I mean, watching Team CC earlier today and how they kind of dismantled Bilibilli and Light Gaming, you gotta feel that for Flag, something has to give here. And actually, there is something that does give, something we haven't touched on yet, and that is Spectra coming into play, the sub for Team CC. So Innovation out, Spectra in, Flex DPS replace, and that means that I think for Team CC, almost certainly we're going to see a ton more Echo on this map.
And Flag Gaming finally hovering over the Echo themselves. I mean, they played it a little bit on the maps beforehand, but it was hardly noticeable with how quick those maps went anyways. But it is worth noting, LaFawn, we casted Team CC on this map just yesterday against Cosmos at Veritas Gaming, and they struggled actually right here on this first point in Time Bank rounds to get a foothold. Maybe Flag Gaming saw a weakness there.
Yeah, that's fair. You say struggled, I say it's a 4-minute 30-second hold, which is not exactly struggling so much as just giving the point up for free, no problem. Anyway, CC going to engage very aggressively here as well. They should. Flag giving them a ton of respect.
Well, not too much respect, though. They're going to collapse on him in the lower room after Shocheng gets that first pick onto Super Rich. Nice flick there from Reborn, just avoiding the headshot and forcing Team CC back already.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit bold from Team CC. As you said, Super Rich and Sia go in deep into the team entirety of Flag Gaming, and Kodomo is healthy, Sia is not, and that's going to be the reset there. So just a trade of resources. It puts Flag Gaming ahead in the economy, but CC again finding time to walk back in.
When you say ahead in the economy, look at Spectra. He's outpacing Shocheng despite the fact that Shocheng got the first pick. Gaga, you gotta stay alive here. Okay, he's getting pocketed, but it's not enough. The sticky bombs from Shocheng will finish off the main tank of Team CC, and even though the duplicate's at the ready for Spectra, it's gonna be pretty difficult for him to actually get that. That being said, Flag Gaming have committed to this room so heavily, they've actually given up a tick.
No, this is actually really bad for Flag. They are now in a very disastrous position. Z-Wave hasn't been healed in some time. The spawns are back. Flag actually may have just given up the point off that ineffective reset.
Oh, and the amplification matrix here has a perfect little angle for Dia to play through. He'll get a ton of damage down, and that sticky bomb is not going to find much from Shocheng. No tanks to contest the point. A second tick is gifted over to Team CC. Despite that, the amplification matrix is thrown in, and the bomb goes down on the point, but it's just booped off, so it won't be able to contest. We still need bodies on the point for Flag Gaming, and they're so squishy without their tank line. They can't last that long.
Flag did not need to be in that position to begin with, Paul. They just don't ever reset when they know that Gaga has a very close respawn. You're going to come back, and now even worse for Flag Gaming, they're going to be incredibly staggered out here. I would not be surprised if we're only get one fight here in the streets phase of King's Row on Flag's defense. One thing we need to talk about on top of all of that is that at the very end of the first point defense, Team CC was kind of bled dry in terms of their economy. They didn't really have many ults online. With how late this next fight's going to come through, both tank ultimates will be available, as will Super Rich's rally, making, again, Team CC pretty healthy.
Fangman's going to need this rally himself online immediately for Flag Gaming to engage. He's so close to it. Reborn taking some damage, so Fangman should be able to heal up, but already Flag Gaming have ceded half of the second point, half of the streets phase, and the gravitic flux is so much better from Sia. Shocheng going into the back with the Ash. This is a bold choice. He's going to need a lot of value right now to get a Bob onto the objective, and he's immediately forced out of it. At least he'll pick up Dia, so not all is lost for Flag, but as they lose their tanks, it's not looking good for them to hold, and Spectra will put down the enemy Echo.
Just to be clear, Spectra comes in against Light Gaming in the lower bracket of an elimination match of Contenders playoff. He's 15 years old. He is so young, and he's already playing to the level where I think he's actually the best Echo we might have in China this season.
And we don't have slouching Echoes, right? You know, Winter Don't Say, they played it pretty well themselves. Shocheng, before this match, has been pretty dang good on it. Been a bit quiet thus far outside of that very first pick. Need to see him and C-Wave start to step it up. Bob is available, and the armor packs are going down under Shocheng, but already Team CC, once again, have taken so much space for free. Flag Gaming finally popped the rally, but even with it, they're just sitting back. Team CC peel away, take out Bob, and now they can rush in with their own devices, crushing Flag Gaming. There's the Gravitic Flux in the corner, takes out one, puts everyone else solo, and Team CC are indomitable.
This has been just an absolute clinic from Team CC on their offense after that first fight. I don't actually think there's a contest here available for Flag Gaming.
Oh, poor Reborn. He got dogpiled in that health pack room. That's a 3-minute, 20-second time bank. It's not the best we've seen out of Team CC on King's Row, but I think it's more than enough, LaFon.
Well, we said that on Kings Row yesterday too when we casted them versus in the lower bracket. Yeah, against CVG. It was again, just to reiterate, they had 4 minutes 30 seconds on the clock. CVG had a minute, and CVG won that map.
And LaFon, I think it's fair to say that this looks like a completely different Team CC. Like,
yes,
when like, you know, we keep referencing when they got held on point A with 4.5 minutes, right? But they were swapping compositions consistently, right? Dia was playing hero roulette, mystery heroes even, on that first point, and now they know exactly what they want to do. They have a set strategy. They haven't moved a muscle off these heroes thus far. Spectra and Dia, a monstrous DPS duo, and Gaga and Sia have locked it down as well. They are no longer the weak link they seemed to starting to become at the beginning of the playoff bracket.
Mentioned Gaga and Sia, and I think the thing is, Gaga mechanically has been one of the better main tanks in this region.
Certainly.
His Winston looks great, especially in the primal juggles, right? And I think his Reinhardt has been pretty good too. But the fact of the matter is he's playing a selfless Overwatch now. He's not trying to be that carry type player. He's just playing proper, safe Overwatch. And it's, again, creating so much more space for the rest of Team CC.
Early teleport out. C-Wave's going to go back to the Widowmaker. We actually saw them try this earlier, Flag Gaming. D-Wave did get a pick that first time, but he's not going to stick on the Widow this time around. He's going to go over to that Ashe, but he's now alone. So Flag Gaming have to actually enter and create angles for him to do something, but Flag Gaming, with the rest of their roster, they can't even do something themselves.
Yeah, C-Wave went fishing with the Widowmaker, but it's Spectre who comes up with the goods. C-Wave again goes down, Paul. This is not a great start here for Flag Gaming, and I think even more impressively is how aggressive Team CC is posturing. Look at them. They're walking up to the choke point here, and they're saying, come to us. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? There's 3 members of Flag Gaming stuck in the ramp right now. Immortality Field's invested, sure, but that just delays the inevitable, realistically. Monk is caught forward, doesn't quite get eliminated by Sia, and now Team CC have to be careful. Don't want to overstay their welcome. Flag Gaming have gotten reinforcements and are starting to find picks. 1987 is the first to fall on the defense. Gaga will join him ever so low, and without that healing, he was always going to be more vulnerable. Now Flag Gaming are finally rushing forward. They smell blood in the water, and they're going to take a bite.
I will say, though, don't get too excited if you're a Flag Gaming fan, because it's, you know, we mentioned that Team CC was the one playing Mystery Heroes yesterday. Now it's Flag Gaming who's in that position, right? Shocheng and C-Wave, they can't seem to settle on a hero composition they actually want to play. And yes, Team CC may have given up that first point, but now on the defense phase, they're still looking loaded for bear. They've got the economy coming in to this next fight, and they're just going to hit the go button whenever they see the space that Flag is inevitably giving up.
So many ultimates available for Team CC. The slightest opening and Team CC will pounce. There it is. Spectra already finding C-Wave. That's a 5v6. Flag Gaming should just head for the hills right now. And you can see that's exactly what they're doing. Shocheng blinking on out.
Now we have to ask ourselves a very realistic question. What is Flag Gaming's win condition? Because if your win condition is dump 6 ultimates, you're going to lose the map. It's as simple as that. Team CC, it makes sense. They're holding pressure. And here, again, dumping ultimates. That's what Flag is doing just to open up this fight.
And what good discipline from Team CC. They recognize we can give you a little space. We'll come back with an amplification matrix and a rally of our own. Bob gets booped into the room. He's not doing much from the cafe. get taken down too. Spectra on a brig of his own. How do you take Team CC down right now? The answer is you don't. You get slammed onto the ground yourself. An Immortality Field will delay the deaths for Flag Gaming, but a Bob in the backline trying to get zoned away by Fangmian. A good boop to remove him, but while Fangmian's distracted, the rest of his team is sent back to spawn.
I think we have a superstar in the making here in Spectra, Paul. Again, just a
Nasty.
reminder, this guy is a rookie in the grand finals of Chinese Contenders. What an
15.
absolute exclamation point for your first debut part of the season here in Chinese Contenders.
It is worth noting he has some Contenders experience, right? But it's Contenders Australia. He played
Yes.
with Paradigm Shift, who, if I'm remembering correctly, didn't do phenomenally this season. So for Spectra to come in like this is practically unheard of.
And again, remember now, drawing back to my economy talk, you have to dump every ultimate to lose a fight. You don't really have much here. Team CC looking in complete control.
A Supercharger could give Flag Gaming the necessary damage to push on forward. But the Spectra duplicating the Sigma. Perfectly timed. Extra peel for his team is exactly what they need. Despite that, Bob and the Supercharger damage are just a little bit overwhelming right now. Gravitic Flux lands onto the floor, but well-timed Immortality Field from Monk. And for the first time this map, Team CC feel like they're on the back foot despite Shochang going down. With Gaga joining him in the grave, Team CC just have to backpedal.
If you're Flag Gaming, you need to win the rest of this fight with vanilla abilities. You absolutely cannot be forced to use more ultimates because you are heavily in a disadvantage of the time bank. CC not giving it up for free.
No, they're not. Dia does go down, though. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Support ultimately probably better, though, for Team CC to be trading out for. Because especially since Dia will be back very quickly. Gravitic Flux, yet again coming out from Sia. Doesn't find much this time around. Believe he got stunned out of it yet again. Kodomo has a Gravitic Flux of his own, but he's ever so low. Sea-Wave will save him. 3 with the Dynamite. That's crazy value.
That's a really effective use of that. Cleanup kills there galore. But, I mean, Flag is already operating at a disadvantage. However, we have seen, we are going to reference that Team CC of yesterday because this is kind of what happened to them in that last stage of King's Row. They gave away just free fights by getting picked off one by one and were unable to draw to overtime, which allowed CVG back in the map. If you're Team CC here, you cannot have that happen again. You have to close out a fight cleanly and clinically if you want to close out this series.
Dio will get away from the focusing beam. That is saving graces for Team CC. And now they eliminate the Ash and the Bob. Another whiff from the Gravitic Flux for Kodomo there. Flag Gaming limping back. Can they even get away without getting staggered? Dia has such a good position over the top of them. And now, I mean, it's just going to be slow pickings. One by one, Flag Gaming are going to be removed. At least they get the pick onto Dia while they head out.
Yeah, but they need more. They need more here. Shochang going to commit to the Baptiste copy. But again, Spectre with the Gravitic Flux.
Well, and Flag Gaming don't even leave. They actually come back into this, investing so many ultimates. 2 amplification matrixes stacked on top of each other.
And
that's some absurd damage, but they still lose. Team CC just juggling them literally and figuratively with the double Gravitic Flux. It's a circus, and Team CC are the ringleaders.
No, Reborn goes down late too. Flag Gaming just feel out of their element at this point in time. This is not yesterday's Team CC, not by a long shot. This is Team CC as we expected them. Team CC in complete control. Team CC in just setting the pace of the game and saying, if you want to play with us on this stage, you have to play at our speed. And Flag has no answers right now.
Flag are going to need some CCs of adrenaline or maybe something a little bit stronger. Kodomo already eliminated. Fangmian and Sea-Wave caught out too. We're down past a minute remaining. Some ultimates are coming up for Flag Gaming. Things like the Rally and the Supercharger will be great, but I don't know if it's enough, LaFon.
No, I mean, if you're even if they manage to get a fight through the sheer aggression that Team CC is bringing to the table, you're not getting this with time on the clock, Paul. You're not getting a non-overtime capture, and that is simply not enough here. You need that precious time, and it's not here. Flag Gaming need a miracle at this point.
One last chance to pull that miracle off. Avoid match point for Team CC in the grand finals. Reborn has the supercharger. The rally already committed from Flag Gaming. They can walk forward, and now they have more healing. They have more damage. Supercharger down on the ground. Gravitic Flux finally lands. Kodomo gets it done. And Flag Gaming, they cap with time somehow, some way, Lafon. They're not done just yet.
I said that Flag Gaming needed a miracle, but maybe they just needed a mistake. And that mistake was CC's to make.
Yep.
And ultimately, I feel like Team CC can see the mirage of their previous matches showing up here, because this is almost exactly how Kings Row played out for them against CVG yesterday.
I think it's our fault. I think it's you and me being here that is doing this, because Team CC didn't struggle on Kings Row any other time, pretty much ever. Now Flag Gaming is going to have a minute to attack. And if it goes anything like it did yesterday, they're going to get almost all 3 points.
We should clarify that Team CC isn't struggling here on Kings Row this time around, though, right?
No, they're still in the lead by, 3
healthy
minutes
margin.
and 13 seconds, right?
Certainly. The one
We're
thing
just
is,
worried.
though, the one thing is, though, you needed 8 seconds of contest, and again, you die with resources. And it may seem like we're being harsh on Team CC, but again, it's because Team CC is the best team in the region, and they've proved in the regular season and again in the playoffs, especially after they dropped that match against Flag earlier in the bracket.
They're certainly looking to still prove it right now. All they need is a 1-minute hold, and they can just put that Cosmos at Veritas game out of their minds, keep their mental strong. They held Flag Gaming for far more than a minute first time around on point A.
Spectra taking a ton of resources there from Super Rich in the repair pack, Paul. So that's down early. There's a small window of opportunity, but another good halt is just farming Spectra up here. Look at that. A 50% lead on the duplicate ahead of Shochek.
It's been 30 seconds. He's going to have the duplicate maybe before overtime. Flag Gaming make the same rotation up into that room to try and buy themselves resources to get back onto the objective, but now they have to collapse into yet another tiny room. The shielding from the kinetic grasp will save Kodomo from the focusing beam, and Spectra gets caught by Seawave. Flag Gaming might have found their opening, but they need to capitalize on it. They can't lose critical members of their DPS line. They need to still punch through the tank line of Team CC, which are just hold down on the objective, desperately Flag run to the point in overtime, but they won't get anything out of it.
And I actually want to talk about something here, just to dial it back and go a little bit more theoretical in Overwatch for a moment, because 4.5 minutes here to capture a third of the point. Team CC should have this one pretty easily.
Hopefully.
The reason why they're actually able to get that hold off is, despite Spectra going down, he actually bled so much resources away from Flag with that ult generation. Like, that ult generation has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is damage dealt. So that means you have your healers, the healers of Flag Gaming and Monk and Fengmian, have to spend so much just getting in that by the time you're in that last fight territory, even though you're up a player, you're actually down in resources, right? So that's a huge reason as to why Flag Gaming just didn't look like they could contest the point at all. It's because Spectra was able to, off the back of a halt from Gaga, just build up so much damage throughput and set Team CC on a path for victory that, frankly, looks insurmountable.
And look at Flag Gaming. They know their backs are against the wall right now. It's time to pull out some of the Hail Mary picks. We're looking at a Wrecking Ball, Zarya, Doomfist dive. If that doesn't say we need clutch, we need heroic intervention, I don't know what does.
And I really want to see how this first fight opens up. Because Team CC, off the back of this, if they get one good stun, one good shutdown, Dia actually on the McCree ahead of that too. Shocheng is going to have a very rough time here on this Doomfist.
Ooh, Spectra, it's got to be careful. Seawave's still playing that Ashe. Can still take Spectra's head off if the Echo's not careful. Right now, he's just testing the waters. Gets those sticky bombs onto Seawave, already so low, and Shocheng is popped. The second he goes in, even the projected barrier is not enough to keep him alive. Flag Gaming, they've lost their clutch. They've lost their protection, their peel now. Who's going to contest the point? The answer is nobody outside the Wrecking Ball. And once Reborn is gone, Team CC are easily going to set themselves up on match point. One more map is all that separates the Kings from the crown they were promised.
And at this point, if you're Flag Gaming, where do you go? What map do you take? You looked at Nepal. It didn't work out to you. You thought you could play Rush there. It didn't work. You went to Hanamura. You thought, okay, maybe we'll play the Echo. We'll play the Poke composition. CC dominated you on there too. You come to King's Row. You're like, okay, maybe Team CC chokes a bit. They don't. I guess now the only choice you really have is just to go to the place that Team CC has struggled the most. The
Watch Point
only map,
Gibraltar.
really, I think, that you can actually make an argument for, indeed, Paul,
Watch Point Gibraltar.
Watch Point Gibraltar.
Oh,
That's a tough
boy.
place to be.
Well, I mean, and we have to give context too, right? To our new viewers here at the Overwatch League. Thank you all for tuning in for this grand finals. Team CC have been rolling thus far, but Escort Watchpoint Gibraltar specifically has been very tricky for them throughout the entirety of the season. They have only, I believe now they should be 3-3 on it, technically speaking. Or actually, no, 3-2. So technically, they have an advantageous win percentage, right? And with most teams, you'll look at a 60% win rate and you don't go, oh, it's one of their ref maps. But every time Team CC go to Watchpoint Gibraltar, it is such an uphill battle. It is so close, no matter what team they are playing, no matter how far the skill gap should be. And we're going to watch the highlights of King's Row, but Gibraltar, man, I don't know if I can take Gibraltar again, LaFon. I don't know if I can do it.
I think the real story here, though, Paul, is at this point it feels like Team CC has slayed their demons, right? It feels like
Across the
they have
board.
kind of avoided some of that, some of that rough play that they have, and actually we have to say for Team CC, they look like they're just going to ride it out in map number 4.
Yeah.
I don't see a way Flag Gaming bring this back.
And I've got good news for us, LaFon. It's not Gibraltar. It's actually Havana that we are going to be going to for map number 4, potentially the last map of the series. Make sure you stick around. Is Flag Gaming going to bring it back? Maybe look for the reverse sweep of all reverse sweeps, or will Team CC just lock it down? Only one way to find out, so stick around. Welcome back, everybody. Team CC have been indomitable thus far in the grand finals of the first season of Contenders China in 2020. Still one more map to put to bed, though, if they want to walk away with the crown that was promised to our Kings. It's possible in LaFon. Flag Gaming, they're going to walk out on the defense first, LaFon, and I do like the composition that they are, using Kerm.
Talk though about Flag Gaming going here. You can see on your screen the win rate of the maps. CC sitting at a perfect 6-0. What?
This is an ambitious pick from Flag Gaming, that's to be sure.
Well, we got Widow versus Widow, and arguably, I mean, Dia is arguably the best Widow in this region, so C-Wave definitely going to have his work cut out for him here.
One of the best Widows in Contenders in any region right now. I think there's few players who would even make the debate against Dia right now. Team CC pushing on forward. They'll lose their Immortality Field early, but they do force out Flag Gaming's, and Flag are actually stuck in this room back here. They're cornered completely. Team CC dominate them and just roll the card on forward.
Favorite part about all that is that Dia did nothing that fight. He's sitting at 60% ult charge. Like, he's chilling. That was a 5v6, and Team CC won it easily. And, you know, coming into this next engagement, I think perhaps if you're Flag, what do you kind of do? You have to hope for a pick off from C-Wave, but there's no way for you to really get out to do that. And it's going to be, you know, I guess you have to dump resources into Shocheng, but oh no, Fengmian.
Fengmian's going to get away. He's okay. Gets healed by Monk. Saves him with the Immortality Field too. Reborn is not going to have that gracing him though. And as Flag Gaming walk out, there's nothing keeping him alive. The point easily rolls on top of the checkpoint. We're going to head into the warehouse with 5 minutes on the board.
The only thing that went well for Flag there is that C-Wave popped off and took the head off Dia. That's it. That is the only final blow that Team CC has given up in Havana so far. Right? So we're looking, what, at 12 eliminations to 1?
Make it 2.
2?
Spectra goes down. C-Wave, right now just trying to carry Flag Gaming on their his shoulders. Ooh, already the Gravitic Flux going forward. Team CC committing to this despite being down 1 member. Amplification Matrix 2. Not the ideal position, but it keeps Flag Gaming off the cart for now. So they get some progress out of it with the payload. Now Shocheng has the reset and an Amplification Matrix of his own. Nearly at a Supercharger. Will be able to work up to it before the duplicate runs out. But you need to actually get eliminations here for Flag Gaming. Now that Supercharger is gone, you've got another one coming up from Reborn shortly. Gravitic Flux, though, from Sia is devastating. And Flag Gaming can't make any advantage stick.
The whole time, the card is moving, Paul. Like, in the middle of all that chaos and disaster, Gaga is just kind of chilling on cart saying, all right, if you're going to let me push it all the way through. And Team CC has taken 3 fights and has captured 2 points, and they have 5 minutes on Havana as they head into third. Flag are looking for anything here at this point.
I mean, we've used the word miracle a few times. Is there something beyond a miracle? Because if so, with Monk down, Flag Gaming are sure looking for it. Supercharger's on the floor, but Team CC then don't feel threatened. Maybe they should. Shocheng on a nasty flank will be able to remove Gaga, but the spawn's right there, LaFon. Team CC aren't stopping anytime soon.
And even more importantly, it's not just the respawn, it's the fact that Team CC is playing with a swagger that I feel Flag just cannot match right now. Look at how aggressively, you know, Dia's taking angles. He's like, all right, I'm just going to walk up front in front of a tank. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is nothing, because the rest of his team is there to back him up. Flag needs something, anything to go right for them here, because you cannot have this map completed with a significant time bank if you want to come back in this series. A reminder, we're at match point. Team CC is up 3-0, and 4th map is looking even more of the same here for Team CC.
Still almost 4 minutes in the time bank as they round the final corner of the map. Dia looking for a pick. Spot one in spawn, but couldn't quite find the head. Shocheng with this duplicate. It's time for hero plays, man. If you were going to do anything this whole series worth putting in a highlight reel, you got to pull it out now. First duplicate going to be pulled out by Spectra, just looking to take out C-Wave on the back line. Gets the Gravitic Flux already, just waiting to chain the ultimates alongside Sia. A late Immortality Field, rather, is going to keep Flag Gaming in this. And now they've got the rally. They can start stacking armor. And with Sia going down, Super Rich joining him back in spawn. Finally, Flag Gaming put their foot down.
Good patience from Flag there to outlast the double gravitic flux that Team CC put down, right? And I think that gives me some hope that Flag Gaming aren't out of it yet, that they still have the mental fortitude that despite having that much time on the clock against them on match point, they're willing to wait to make that correct play. It's still going to be very tough, mind you, but at least I'm seeing that spark of life that we really needed from Flag Gaming in this series.
It needs to be more than a spark, though, LaFon. It needs to be a consistent burn if they want to actually come on back, and there's still a long way to go. Gravitic Flux out in the tiny little room. Sia under a lot of pressure, but juggling his experimental barrier masterfully. And Team CC are still on the objective. It's just Reborn on the cart, holding on to the supercharger, waiting for his opportune moment. But if he waits too long, he might not get a chance to use it. Already Shocheng is down, and that was the main benefactor of it regardless. Supercharger comes out, but it's so late. Reborn's gone, and his bongo is sent to the scrapyard. Kodomo comes back, though. He's not done yet. Fangmion and him lock it down. Once again, by the skin of their teeth, Flag Gaming will hold.
And Flag Gaming have actually forced, and Saywave in particular, have actually forced Dia off the Widowmaker. He's now going to play the McCree, play a little bit more of that just damage, burst damage coming in close with the Peacekeeper. So that's an element Flag Gaming, I think, it takes a moral victory, even as they take these fight victories. And rather economical they've been with those fight victories as well. Here comes that Infrasight, so no one's going to be able to peek out aggressively on CC's part. As... yeah, Seawave, again, Seawave needs to find these headshots, these headshot pickoffs to really kickstart the fight wins that Flag Gaming need.
But look how disciplined Team CC are, hiding behind the barrier. Gaga gets in the perfect position to where Dia can roll behind him and avoid getting headshot himself. Even with Seawave playing at his peak, Team CC are just monumental right now. Spectra's gonna use the Gravitic Flux, yet again picking the Sigma to duplicate. He knows this is the most impactful ultimate he could select. Shocheng's gonna try and match him, and he's gonna get one on to Sia, but he's alone on the cart. Even with the reset health from the duplicate, he is so very vulnerable, especially to the Deadeye. And it's just a matter of time before the payload finds its way to the end of the map now.
That being said, there is still an opportunity here for Team CC to kind of give it up and let it go. A little bit late there. Spectre gets the final blow on Fangmion, Paul, trying to close out this map.
No chance now. Once again, the second wave of Flag Gaming as they come back from spawn is eliminated. You need miracle picks. You need an elimination at least. And Team CC will finish the map with 12 seconds remaining.
That being said, there are some positives to take from if you're Flag, right? We were talking about the 5-minute time bank that goes all the way down to 12 seconds. And yes, it is Havana, and third point is so very difficult to capture. Understandable, but I think the one thing that you have to take from Flag is small victories. And small victories include that 4-minute hold to, reduce the time bank down to that 12 seconds. So again, I think here you now have to take the attack, the offense, and say, how do we complete the map? How do we take that next step at a time and just kind of ignore the place in the series you're in right now?
Ignore the scoreboard. It's the first map. That's what you got to think about if you're Flag Gaming. Nothing else matters. You have to get this point now. And it all comes down to this attack. How will Team CC choose to defend? Once again, we get similar compositions on point A, and unlike you might have seen in NA or Europe or Contenders, here in China they do a little bit differently usually. Don't take those aggressive fights up by the door. Instead, just look to dominate this alleyway.
I think the one thing that's actually really interesting for me is that from Team CC, we have not seen dive at all today. Yeah. Right? It's all been that poke composition. And I think coming to playoffs, we said Team CC's best composition was dive. The fact that they're dominating this heavily in a comp we said they were bad at this, this time yesterday is spectacular to me.
And look how much respect Flag Gaming are giving Dia right now. Nobody dares poke their head out. They send Kodomo to the objective because he's the one who can survive pushing it the best with the kinetic grasp and an experimental barrier. But even still, he's taking a good bit of damage. Spectre actually goes forward with the armor pack and tries to pressure that Sigma. Already up working past Shocheng in terms of alt charge. Dia's got to be careful, doesn't want to lose that duel to C-Wave because then it would just be disastrous. Team CC actually giving up a lot of space right now, refusing to contest the cart, just playing for this first pick. Shocheng's overextended. Oh, he's in this room. Okay, his team comes to meet him. That could have been disastrous if Sia could have found that accretion, but no rock landing onto the Echo as of yet.
Yeah, it's going to have to, again, very slow, very methodical game here. It's looking for who's going to make that first mistake. Flag has teetered closer and closer to that first mistake, it must be admitted. But so far, we're at about an even fight.
Ooh, Sia getting caught out. Immortality feel beautiful from 1987. Good to see him step up. We haven't gotten to mention it a lot today because we have a lot to talk about for Team CC, but 1987's Baptiste has been a bit of a struggle for this team. So plays like that, keeping Team CC alive, are so valuable.
Yeah, it certainly has, and I think he's really been an MVP candidate. Speaking of, Spectre's getting a pick off there.
Dia does go down though, so it's a 1-for-1 in terms of DPS and C-Wave. If Shocheng, or not Shocheng, if Spectra pokes his head out, could take him down, but C-Wave's not finding any head to click on. Team CC playing around the cart beautifully, dismantling Flag Gaming entirely. The Gravitic Flux is going to whip, sure, but it's just Spectra's. He hardly needed it.
Yeah, certainly did. I mean, and he's going to get the kill on C-Wave there at the very end. A little flashy completion of the kill there. Team CC are in the driver's seat because the cart now is in a position where Flag has to win a fight to get to the cart, then complete another fight to capture the point. CC really holding all the tools here to perhaps close out the series.
A minute and 30 seconds remaining, and you can only really call it one real fight that Flag Gaming have taken. Earlier we were saying, Flag, you need to play more aggressive. Flag, you need to hold WM1 a bit more, and they've been struggling to do so. Finally, they're going to pull the trigger on a fight. Throw out that amplification matrix, but it's just two people. Monk and Reborn benefiting from it right now. What is that going to get you, Flag?
And not only is it Monk and Reborn who are benefiting from it, well, there's the Gravitic Flux in the air.
Yeah, no, I mean, Team CC, they feel like they're playing with their food a little bit right now. They don't even need to push into that room. It's just more time off the clock. We're down past a minute. Reborn's caught out, completely isolated from the rest of his team. Flag Gaming, they rush into the backline, though. Finally, they find their opening. Reborn was the bait. And Flag Gaming will eventually be able to cap point A.
A little cocky there from Team CC, though, Paul, it must be admitted. They, I think that Flag is going to just lie down and die in this series. But Flag did not get to the grand finals by being pushovers. They didn't get to the grand finals by saying, oh, no, woe is us, we lost fights. No, they see an opportunity and they take it. And yes, the time bank is not stellar, but there is still life here for Flag Gaming.
And keep in mind, a lot of time was bought off the clock when we got to that third point. So if Flag Gaming can get there with any time remaining, even cap the map, they'll have a chance to stay in the series. C-Wave, clicking the head of Gaga. Wasn't fully charged, though. Not a lot of damage, and Reborn immediately has his supercharger removed as Spectra finds a beautiful flank. Already has the Gravitic Flux. Just gonna chuck it out immediately, because why wouldn't you? Doesn't quite land that accretion, so Flag Gaming will be able to survive and slowly push this payload forward. Shocheng going down, though. Spectra is still a threat up in the air. Even without that duplicate, he is a menace to behold. An amplification matrix desperately thrown out from Monk, but it's answered back by 1987s, and with a real Gravitic Flux from Sia, Flag Gaming are going to have to reset.
I mean, for Flag Gaming, every trade that they make is made in full back by Team CC. Like, again, look at these exit frags, and all this is doing is just restocking the war chest that Team CC is going to have in this next fight. Bob is going to be online. You have Supercharger. You're ahead of Flag Gaming in nearly every category. And for Flag Gaming, you're fighting an uphill battle, both figuratively in the economy and as well as literally in this map's geometry. So, you need a pick off here from C-Wave. You need Shocheng to pop off.
Spectra pokes his head out, but he's not going to give Flag the pick they are looking for. Rally invested from Fang Mian at the beginning of the fight. It's the only chance to really get in and take this one, but with Kotomo just getting blasted, there's not much hope. Sia will join him in the grave. Actually, Team CC are a little split right now. and getting picked off one by one. Flag Gaming have to stick on the objective, though. You can't let your main tank fall by the wayside. You've got to keep this payload moving forward. Only Kodomo is going to be able to step onto the cart now and safely contest. It's a trade of echoes, so still not the opportunity Flag Gaming need, and we're down to 35 seconds.
And 35 seconds and counting, Paul, because Dia is popping off. There's another one, and Kodomo's caught out.
Kodomo, he has the Gravitic Flux, though. He can't find the value. 20 seconds remaining. All the ults except the amplification matrix used by Flag. It's desperation time. I'm surprised we don't see Doomfist, Wrecking Balls, anything coming out from Flag.
Who's going to be the worker? Who's going to be the miracle worker for Flag here now, Paul? On Kings Row is Team CC. I do not predict a similar mistake this time around. Spectra still has the duplicate, and Sia, obviously with a Gravitic Flux, coming online.
Reborn gets to the card. Dia is popping off, though. He's already found 2 heads. Spectra on top of the world right now. Flag Gaming are dismantled. It's Return of the King. Team CC will claim their crown and walk away the grand champions of the first season of 2020 here in Contenders China.
GG's all the way through. Team CC, they make it theatrical here in the playoffs, but at the very end, they stand on top. As they started the season, so too do they end it. And finally for Team CC, finally we can say they are this region's grand champions.
And we have to talk about the players, LaFon, because this has to mean so much to them. I want to focus on Dia specifically. Dia, the hit scan, one of the original members of the 0-40 Shanghai Dragons in the inaugural season of the Overwatch League. He gets to put a title on his name, a trophy on the shelf.
Paul, I have to say, it's even more
wonderful.
so for him. It's even more wonderful for him because he deliberately took this moment. He said, I want to go back to Chinese Contenders. I want to go back to the Academy team. I want to prove to myself and to my fans and to people all over the world that I am capable of playing at this highest level. I want to be able to come back and stay in the Overwatch League on my own 2 feet. And he has certainly taken that next step to really put himself back in that conversation.
If Dia's not in the Overwatch League sometime soon, I'm going to have a talk with the scouting of those teams. But he's not the only player who popped off, right? Guys like Gaga, guys like Sia locked it down when they were struggling. 1987 was no longer a vulnerability for this team. And Spectra coming in last minute for Team CC, slotted in so perfectly for this team as their Echo specialist, just 15 years old, but a monster nonetheless.
Innovation as well on the bench, and Kami, who didn't get to see much playtime in this playoffs, but who's also been fantastic in his own right, and it's certainly a big reason through the regular season as to why Team CC are here. So I think, not to put too fine a point on it, but throughout the history of Chinese Contenders, we've had fantastic teams stand at the very top of the championship podium. Lucky Future Zenith, which you will have noticed many names, of course, LGE, LGD. There's been so many players, T1W, of course, but for Team CC, finally, they can finally put that mark, their names beside that championship and say, we are the best in China.
Team CC joined the ranks of the victors of Chinese Contenders, and it's so disappointing that we don't get the showdowns this time around because of everything that's going on right now. But I have no doubts that if we did, Team CC would show up as a contender and really come back in. China last year didn't have the greatest showings at the showdown or the gauntlet, but Team CC, if we get a gauntlet later this year, other teams, other regions, you better keep an eye out for these monsters.
And I think, the other thing that's been so impressive about them is not just that I think they would compete wonderfully on the world stage, but how they got here. Because again, we talked about them as being the San Francisco Shock emulator. And now truly they've put that name, I think, in the same comparison because they dropped that early game in the playoffs. They dropped that week 4 where they had moments where they looked terribly weak. But all those and more have been answered. All those concerns are no longer here. Team CC are the real deal. And I honestly have not much more to say about them other than, wow, what a season here from Team CC. a true treat we got to watch this year.
LaVon, I'm sure you and I could wax poetic about Team CC all day long, but we're going to let you find folks. You supporters of Tier 2, head on out. Keep in mind, though, this isn't it for Contenders this season. Just for Contenders China, LaFon and I, the rest of us here at Elo Hell Esports, are done putting on this region, but make sure you head on over to the Overwatch Contenders YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. The playoffs, the finals for NA will be coming to the Overwatch League channel as well, so keep an eye out for those. But from me, from LaFon, from all the people behind the scenes, for now, it's a goodbye. We'll see you next season in Contenders China.